My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only, and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes, and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C., and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. I have one head on my body, of course. This is two heads you see appearing here. This is speaking to intentional conduct, which is a terrorizing threat, and it's sexually violent as well. When the entity that is monitoring you, engaging in surveillance, knows everyone, including the targeted individual, even what they're doing while they're monitoring your vagina, and are engaging what is seeking to break into the restroom, which is activity creation, while they already know that you are in there. This is the entity that uses that as a means of monitoring. It's also relevant to what is psychological torture, when the ordinary targeted individual does not have evidence that they are being gang stalked, that they are being targeted in a bathroom amongst those that are pretending to be strangers. The entity is stalking by helicopter, by the police, fire, and ambulance. They are stalking with light, including inside of the venue, in places such as bathrooms. Engineer light outside of a bathroom is the foundational and direct evidence of sexual violence. This is Stater Brothers, P.O.C. And that is a sex offender crossing path while they're witnessing the document. That's audible activity. They use the announcements as audible activity. This is a stalker trapping, stalking, okay? This is what they're doing. It's called surrounding, and it's very threatening. And the entity's doing this on surveillance cameras. You're going to prosecute what they're doing clearly on the cameras, because it's not inventory, it's not shopping, it's not being on the job, it's not constitutionally protected, it's psychopathic, in fact. She's an engineer light staring at flowers. All right, this is the entity that's engaging in that, and this is psychopathic pacing, where you already know the fake sun is present at 6 and 7 in the morning. They're gang stalking as a business, and they're engaged in vagina monitoring as a business. The entity engaging what is seeking to break into the bathroom while they're engaging in that pattern of conduct. Okay, that's Erica at register number 1. Kia is gang stalking. She was at register number 1. The entity, this is a manager. It does what their managerial level is. They're all third parties. Okay, this is the bathroom monitoring conduct of the entity, and this is a terrorist leader, as you're going to prosecute business while they're engaged in that P.O.C, organizing it, facilitating it, enabling it, and everything pursuant to that business is relevant to that federal RICO case. This is vagina monitoring and harassment in a bathroom while you are very eager and enthusiastic to keep my vagina. This is P.O.C, 646 West Holt Boulevard. The entity that's engaging in what is activity creation, they're not knocking on the door inquiring whether someone is in there. They're engaging in activity creation pursuant to surveillance. That's also relevant to the impossible and inexplicable light activity inside of the venue of Stater Brothers. This is P.O.C, and the Ontario International Airport is engaged in what is making money from vagina monitoring. That is an unprecedented basis to shut that venue down altogether. They are following throughout the city of Ontario. They're doing so at what is the Ontario Village Shopping Center. This is where this third party is engaging in stalking right here. This is the pattern of conduct. This is Ontario Village Shopping, where the entity is keeping the fake sun and the airport is flying through it. Yeah, that's the P.O.C. It is currently, by the way, look at that. It is currently walking toward a venue that's already closed in order to gang stalk with the entity. Whether it's open or closed, they're stalking with the airport. This is unintelligent vagina monitoring. But this is Stater Brothers that's engaging it. Wendy's, they're engaged in vagina monitoring. They act as an entity. So the people of the state are using businesses, the people of the state are using their establishments, the people of the state are using commercial airline companies. That's what the American Airlines, Southwest, UPS are, and Ontario International Airport represents the government acting directly. This is the P.O.C, and sexual violence pursuant to criminal surveillance is committed in furtherance of murder. So you will be a sex offender prosecuted for conspiracy to murder with the state. 9TVF 317. And the entity is engaging in this at Stater Brothers at 646 West Holt Boulevard and the Ontario Village Shopping Center, where the entity, the state of California, the U.S. government's keeping my vagina under surveillance inside of the bathroom. You know exactly where I'm at, where the government is stalking me when I walk outside. The government is stalking by virtue of the fake sun. They're engaging in psychotic means of monitoring you, and it is barbaric, it's perverted, it's very much obsessive. This is the maniacal stalker that is chasing you down and targeting you everywhere, including while your panties are down inside of the bathroom. P.O.C. All right, it is currently, like I stated, that plain activity is pursuant to what is prosecuting Stater Brothers, the corporation, as a terrorist and as a violent sex offender, and it is an unprecedented basis for damages regarding criminal activity for terrorism in the U.S. P.O.C. Stalking with the people of the state on the roads and the highways. At a distance, like a coward, license 8LXX578, white Honda, stalking at the Concha Verde, adjacent to 303 North Euclid Avenue. That's the Vos Church. P.O.C. this is the airport stalking while I'm at the Ontario Town Square. This is Metro 102. This is the 280 North Limit. And the reason why they're not flying over here, over the square, is because I'm at the edge. This is stalking. And the airport that engages in what are legitimate flights and not stalking and targeting are not going to be hovering like this throughout the city. They have to maintain that elevation, that noise level, miles west still to engage in what I documented west of this location at the Stater Brothers, where they're stalking. And Stater Brothers is engaging in surveillance in the bathroom, breaking into the bathroom, putting in the key so you don't know that I'm there. And this is the population that engages in that. They're surveilling you. And those are violent sex offenders who are psychotic. This egocentric, demon-possessed entity really presupposed that if they acted like one thing, then that would dictate the facts. And they're going to be prosecuted based on their delusion. This is an entity that is accustomed to controlling and making up the information, and they're going to be prosecuted with regard to reality. They are fully aware of and engaging in surveillance, and they engage in sexual violence and harassment, trauma. While they are engaging what is gang stalking you, you go into the bathroom and they're trying to break in, and they know exactly who you are and what you're doing. They're monitoring your genitalia, and it is only a demon, a psychopath that is engaging in that, and that is what they rely on to rebut that fact that's already established. Because you continuously engage in it does not suggest at all that you don't know or that it is false. This is an entity that's engaging in, that's the ego. That's their ego. They're delusional. And psychopaths are going to federal prison for it. That's why the government has given itself over to me. They are in the palm of my hand. I'm going to prosecute them. The airport is being shut down. Okay, this is the conclusion. And the mayor is a terrorist. This is documentation proving that. And gang stalking mayors are being removed from office. This is P.O.C. I am at the Ontario Town Square. They are not flying on the opposite side of my person. That's the clock, because I am not at that location. They remain on what is the south side of my person, stalking, P.O.C. It's currently 8:57 a.m. It is Monday, February 16, 2026, so it's currently 9:51 a.m. and all the video documentation is relevant regarding what is ongoing real-time evidence pursuant to criminal activity by government that and the people of the state, the civilian population, every restaurant, every household, every vehicle, everywhere that I'm going at all times. That is the government. As I've shown an environment that follows me, which is supernatural, it's demonic. This is a government that's engaged in satanic practices regarding criminal surveillance, and it's exposing a demon-possessed population. It is the Nephilim. Right now I'm at Wendy's. Wendy's is gang stalking. Wendy's is located on Holt Boulevard, and they are engaged in years of targeting, and they are targeting with U.S. The entity is engaged in what is the maintenance of a public nuisance. This is including Union Pacific. They're doing so while they are stalking me from place to place, and Wendy's is stalking while the entity stalks me at Wendy's, while the employees are stalking at Wendy's, while the specific environment is present via Wendy's, and while the entity is chasing me down and harassing like UPS is as I approach the front door, and this demon in a UPS truck. Be mindful of the fact that I documented UPS gang stalking at Metro 102. And the entity is chasing me down with that same entity that's hostile to being, that's a demon. That's the demon possession is noted by that ongoing hostility to being discerned. They're being discerned as I'm documenting. But the entity is engaging in what is pulling up right behind me immediately. This demonic simultaneity, okay? This knee-jerk type of conduct. This is a demon operating a commercial vehicle. It's a federal RICO case. It's demonic activity. It's terrorism by the people of the state that are using a UPS truck. UPS comes and makes a prompt delivery to the fast food restaurant as I approach the front door to open it, okay? So, of course, they're stopping right in the middle of the parking lot. They're not parking. They stop right in front of me and do so while they are crossing path. This is a demon looking for a purpose to pace in operation of their communication devices. So this is Satan cloaking itself in the logo UPS, pacing around me, staring at its communication device, going to the venue where I'm located, stalking with that venue. That's what you'll see represented in the images. Wendy's is gang stalking. This is P.O.C. It's 9:54 a.m. The license plate of UPS is license 24136 George 3. You will see how the company itself, UPS, is driving recklessly and engaging in targeting me, stopping in the middle of the parking lot, not even getting in a parking space, doing so with regard to wanting to harass and stalk me while the entity is sounding train activity. This is Union Pacific with Wendy's and UPS. Multiple companies are engaging in the federal RICO case while they're gang stalking me. P.O.C. This is Esperanza. Esperanza's pacing. Esperanza is a third party, and so is Wendy's. Esperanza is relevant to the federal RICO case, and Esperanza is a third party to be prosecuted herself.
Hi. Hello. Are you done? Oh, yeah, he's there. Do you guys accept EBT here? EBT, yes. I want it. You still serving breakfast? Breakfast, yes. We could do lunch. It's going to be like a few minute wait. Oh, no, breakfast is fine. Can I get the French toast sticks? For 6 sticks? The 4 piece? Okay. Sorry, what did you say? 4 6. Yeah. Oh, yeah, the 4 piece, yes, please. And, the 4 piece, do you guys have hash browns? No, we do have seasoned potatoes. Oh, you guys are kind of different, huh? Yeah. I will do the French toast sticks and what else is that? I don't know, what do you suggest I get with French toast sticks? I like the seasoned potatoes, they are good. Not really any other sides. Yeah. Okay, I'll try it. I'll try it. The small seasoned potatoes? Potatoes? I'm going to take you over here. Is that okay? You're going to help me over here? Oh, yeah, over there. Because I don't have over here. Oh. You can wait here. Oh, okay. Thank you. You're welcome. Spicy chicken. Que tenga buen día. Barbecue. ¿Qué rápido va? Sí. No, por favor, no. Gracias. De nada, que le vaya bien. Remember the encounter, the conversation is about a purchase, it's occurring in the environment, it is the P.O.C. Yes, ma'am. This is all serving criminal activity simultaneously. This is the RICO case. And the Ontario police going out of their way to threaten by gang stalking in the path, and you know that they're engaging in stalking me every time I publish something on X. Wendy's is targeting me in furtherance of murder and kidnapping, and the Ontario police are monitoring pursuant to every word that is said, every means of activity that's created, including through the criminal and malicious business practices of Wendy's. And that's how you're getting into what the government is engaging in. And these are not private parties. This is not private conduct. None of it is protected. You do not create a business under the Constitution and make money and are entitled to do so while it is serving a criminal purpose. What is serving an unprecedented criminal purpose at that? This is serving for surveillance of people. I'm a targeted individual, so the people of the state are doing so in furtherance of murder, and Wendy's is making money. There you go. And that's the basis for what is that. Thank you. Let me see. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. For what is that RICO case, and also the prosecution of the entity for terrorism. Thank you. No problem. It is terrorism while you're subject to the pattern of conduct any and everywhere that you're going when you're going to the restroom. It's a matter of public information. This is relevant to the psychological harm behind going to any restaurant, any place, including Wendy's, and you are already aware of in your mind that you're going to be compensated for that, and it's a crime to be subject to it, and this is what the government is doing via third parties such as Wendy's. Okay, so this is the entity that is exposing itself to liability while they're obsessed with me and gang stalking and harassing me, and in the courtroom, that's where they are going to realize those penalties, and they're severe penalties because this is terrorism. Okay, the federal RICO case is relevant to terrorism. Do not get lost in the trees. This is documentation for domestic terrorism in the United States. While the entity is engaging in this terrorism, there's a whole revelation regarding a massive RICO case, which is historic because every business is engaging in surveillance with the state, with the U.S. government, as I've shown that pattern of conduct. And it's an unprecedented basis for compensation as well. You're making money in unfathomable ways while you're monitoring my vagina. People are rushing in to make a purchase because the system presupposes that if you're a customer, then there's no possible way that you could be stalking someone that you don't even know, that doesn't even know you. I'm going to prosecute for that malice. I'm going to prosecute. Okay? It's P.O.C. It's 9:59 a.m. Oh, are they over here?
I can choose some more.
Oh, okay. Like a fork?
Oh, no, fork? Yeah, I'll get you a fork.
Thank you. Do you have a code for the restroom or something?
Okay, yeah, it'll be
Yes.
1369.
Thank you. All right, AutoZone. I documented the license plates. They're pacing in the parking lot as the entity is stalking before I arrive. Everyone knows where I'm going. Everyone knows where I am coming from. Everyone knows while I'm en route. And the entity is, regardless of all of that, I've already proven that, but even aside of that, you can even forget all of that. Okay, the entity is stalking as I go, and stalking is dictated by the entity that's maintaining an environment that is engaging what is maintaining that specific environment with regard to being in your path and making sure that they are monitoring in front of you, behind you, all around you, in the sky space above you. And that's what they're doing while they are pacing all around in the parking lot. And while they were doing that, before I approached Wendy's, I just went through and documented all the license plates. AutoZone is making money while monitoring me. AutoZone would be engaged in the sex offense of monitoring my vagina while in relevant position. And they're on the register ringing up customers who are gang stalking with them. It's the federal RICO case. But I've shown you the pattern of conduct where a demon maintains presence in their vehicle, and they keep those vehicle lights in my direction, and they have this uncanny ability to do so in perfect alignment with wherever I'm located. That's not a coincidence. It's demon possession. That precision has nothing to do with intelligence. I've shown you how unintelligent the demon possessed are. They're merely maniacal, like animals. They engage in impulsive activity creation. But there is a lack of intellect, and that's how I've been able to prosecute and overwhelm and bully the demon-possessed entity, the public entity that's demon-possessed. This is how you're understanding Satan. Doesn't matter what vessel they're using. If you have a degree in rocket science, I'm going to prosecute you because you are a rocket scientist that's stalking me under the fake sun. And if you were actually intelligent, then you would have known based on your background that that's impossible to be the sun. I shouldn't have to break that down as a target individual. You're supposed to be smarter than me. You're supposed to be more powerful than me because you have a whole league, a whole entity of demons with you. They're all idiots together, and I'm prosecuting them. This is P.O.C. It's 10:03 a.m. All right, it is 3:01 p.m. This is documentation regarding the one who you hear gang stalking. It's Esmeralda. The demon-possessed are engaged in the pattern of conduct, maintaining the ongoing plane activity at the Wendy's. The Wendy's located on Holt Boulevard, across from the Shell gasoline, the same plaza as the AutoZone, the property, the venue where I've documented the fake sun traveling across these venues as I've traveled east and west of Holt Boulevard over the course of the years of the P.O.C. as I've been documenting, and they are maintaining that facility in the venue, including while the behavioral pattern of the government stalking by planes, stalking by the people who are maintaining light activity, stalking in the path, engaging in many iterations of the same thing, aiming light toward me while the rest of the demons are engaging in psychopathic pacing. Parking at the gas stall with your lights aimed toward me while the demons on Hope Boulevard are pacing. Parking at 111 Monterey Avenue, 117 Monterey Avenue with your lights aimed toward me. Parked at the stop sign with your lights aimed toward me at Monterey and Hope Boulevard while the demons are engaging in psychopathic pacing. Parked at AutoZone with your brake lights or your headlights aimed toward me while the demons are engaged in psychopathic pacing, including by the Ontario International Airport. That is amplifying plane activity inside of Wendy's. That's going to be a check. Those are damages. It's psychological torture. Wendy's is engaging in what is maintaining a chamber of torture, and you're listening to the laughter in the out. That's Satan. They're not laughing about some of the conversation, but I want to be clear. They're not going to be laughing in court. Okay, and the owners of Wendy's are not going to be laughing either. They're also not going to be laughing when they are criminally convicted for terrorism and when their families are being deported, because that's exactly everything that's related to being engaged in gang stalking. The entity's engaged in that pattern of conduct, and the reason why you know that it's relevant to what I'm talking about and not a conversation that you can hear laughter simultaneously or coincidentally occurring is because it's audible activity. So everything that you hear has a purpose with regard to monitoring me. It is all personal to me. That's why when you're in the specific environment and you just start spouting out racial epithets, you start screaming out that you're going to hit even someone else. This is the entity that is monitoring you. These are the passive-aggressive, micro-aggressive tactics of cowards who stalk you with their back to you, who stalk you as a population while they are ostensibly strangers, who deny the fact that they are obsessed with you and are stalking you, meaning you are the object of literally everything concerning, and who also utilize violence as a means of monitoring you when simultaneously that's supposed to be only in a psychopath's mind. Only in the psychopath's mind, however, that violence presupposes that you're not stalking them because you're being violent to the response of being documented as a stalker. You are nothing other than a violent psychopath who is still stalking. The facts never cease to exist. This is an entity that's engaging in what is demonic conduct. Satan, that is invisible, thinks that, and I am speaking to the behavior of Satan, that is a lying spirit. So it's in the behavior, Satan, which is operating amongst the people of the state who are demon-possessed, and it's the public entity that is a corrupt government that is also accustomed to abusing its power. This is an entity that is demon-possessed, and it is together being personified while an entity is engaging in this, and this is an entity that is demonic, and this is the character of Satan, that if they are depicting reality as one thing, then that's what that reality is going to be, and no one is going to contend with that or question it. No one that is not going to be bullied or intimidated in one way or another, controlled or in one way or another. And this is what the government has done, and this is the character of Satan. All right, so I just want to speak to that, but this is, again, absolutely absurd. It's idiotic, actually. It's absolutely ignorant. Facts exist in and of themselves, and there is nothing that you're saying that changed the existence of that fact. This is what the entity's reliance on criminal defamation shows as well, and it merely shows how an entity is projecting everything that it does wrong, everything that's wrong with it, while it cannot contend with the actual facts. And even if you were to speak on someone who may be a criminal or were a criminal in the past, if they were to produce the pattern of conduct, say they are simultaneously someone that came up with the P.O.C., understand the P.O.C. is going to exist in and of itself, and it doesn't make any of the evidence within the P.O.C. false because of the character of the person who produced it. Just want to speak to that. The entity is in and of itself incapable of changing facts. The sun remains the sun. It will never sit over one restaurant such as Wendy's for the beginning and to the end of the day, and it doesn't matter if you want to defame the one that is speaking to that and documenting it to prove that that's what's happening. And that's how you're going to prosecute a bunch of stalkers who are demon-possessed. It's not going to change if you try to defame that person. Period. And that's a fact as well. This is logic. 6 Edward Xavier Henry 115. The entity is making money while gang stalking me, and Wendy's has made itself a torture chamber and is engaging in that while making money, and gang stalkers come in making purchases, stalking me inside of the restaurant, doing so with the Ontario International Airport. I captured the entity gang stalking by the police department. You'll see that on the Google Drive. I captured the entity gang stalking by criminal summoning by the Ontario Fire Department. I captured that. That's attached to the Google Drive as well. It is the same exact P.O.C. and the evidence of the entity stalking with the fake sun in Ontario, California, period, is already on the record, but let alone what is HOLT Boulevard. There's a history of evidence here. Literally on HOLT Boulevard, walking to Mercy House, walking to the back toward the OVITT Family Community Library from Mercy House, as I would travel back and forth on foot as I am aboard Omnitrans, traveling to Fontana, traveling to Pomona, while I am traveling from Chino, even on Route 83, and the fake sun passing over Hope Boulevard. There is, in other words, direct evidence of the entity stalking with the fake sun in all manner, which is already establishing that Wendy's is a gang stalker. I'm just here today documenting the ongoing ceaseless pattern of conduct, and the entity is engaged in what is torture, harassment, psychological torture to be precise, with regard to amplified plane activity while a bunch of demons are sitting around consuming Wendy's products. Okay, so Wendy's is providing what is a means of making money while they are simultaneously gang stalking, and that's what you hear Esmeralda engaging in. Literally, that conversation is a violation of federal RICO laws. While she's taking my order, she is violating federal law. It is currently 3:07 p.m. This is P.O.C. Alright, this is impossible light activity. My shadow's magnified, right? And this is positioning while you're coming and making a purchase at the venue. This is surveillance outside of the bathroom, just like the sex offenders at OVITT Family Community Library. This is a predator. What you need to recognize is that it is the government. This is Mike LORENZ. This is the Ontario Police, keeping a demon-possessed person outside of the doors of a women's restroom. where engineered light is present by a customer. This is the federal RICO case, and they're all demons engaging in surveillance. 6 Wendy, Charlie Wendy 448, monitoring vagina. 17328 Bob 4, monitoring vagina. The demons are engaged in this. The employee license 8 Zebra Mary Mary 907, 9 Mary Kelly David 753, monitoring vagina. Over here, back here, AutoZone is driving in and going into the drive-thru is a means of crossing path with engineer light. You know what these demons do with engineer lights, not their headlights. You know what they're doing under the fake sun. It's not the sun, it's not sunlight. This is the public engaging in what is monitoring my vagina together, doing so while my panties are down, making sure they're aiming light. That's not their headlights, that causes multiple shadows. This is the same chicanery that the demon possessed are engaging in while the government's conspiring in murder. The entity, the government, the population, keeping what's between your legs under surveillance. They're going to be prosecuted as what they are. Domestic terrorists is a formal title, but these are barbarians and violent sex offenders, co-conspirators of murder. The public is engaging in surveillance inside of the Wendy's restroom. Okay, this is P.O.C. This is what you're looking at inside of OVITT. Okay, interested in. This is what he's interested in right here. The women's restroom. Okay, this is the P.O.C. restrooms for customers that are under surveillance. It's a federal RICO case. This is called relevant positioning while inexplicable light is on the wall. Nobody has to say anything. The case is already complete, and that's a terrorizing threat. I'm being psychologically harmed. I'm being sexually violated. I'm being threatened. While you see these minions over here aiming light, you're analyzing this crime scene. You're going to prosecute Wendy's. It's a matter of civil damages. It's a matter of invasion of privacy and inhumane level. This is where the entity is stalking by plane and helicopter while the government is obsessively stalking. And you have an army of the living dead. These are zombies that are all stalking and listening together in real time, like they know what's going on between my legs as well. This is P.O.C. This demon made a purchase. It's a federal RICO case. I'm going to prosecute Wendy's. I'm going to prosecute Wendy's employees. And I'm going to prosecute what is the state as well, because it's bigger than Wendy's. But this is the case against every single business engaging in surveillance in the United States and in California, where I'm prosecuting. P.O.C. This is all psychopathic pacing. They're one entity. They're not individuals. They're all demons. And they're acting with keeping one outside of the doors of a bathroom. That's a violent sex offender. Violent. You have to go past Satan to get to the bathroom, and Satan is keeping your genitalia under surveillance with demons that are engaging in cooperative, psychopathic teamwork. P.O.C. It is currently 3:28 p.m. I want you to see the logo. Okay? This is the entity that's going to be federally prosecuted. This is the same pattern of conduct inside of Stater Brothers, the same pattern of conduct inside of Starbucks, the same pattern of conduct inside of McDonald's. You name it, I've documented it, and it is the P.O.C. There is nothing that's going to create that light activity with regard to headlights. Headlights don't create multiple shadows, and if you look at them, those are not very powerful headlights that are going to create that light activity in the first place. You're looking at the personification of Satan while they're sitting there. You see this diagonal line of they're all monitoring. These are demons. And this represents an entity. This is an unlawful threat, and this is why officials are being removed from position, and they will be federally prosecuted as well. The people of the state are incentivized and are acting as agents, and those that are terrorist leaders are those that are in office, and they're going to be federally prosecuted. This is terrorism in the so-called civilized society of the United States of America. P.O.C.
The entity is stalking me as I'm leaving Wendy's. There's no flights that are over the Ontario Town Square townhomes. The entity is stalking on the roads and the highways in concert with the entity that is stalking by plane. Flying way over here. This is B Street. That's the fire department. That's a gang stalker. This is the city hall. That's a gang stalker. And those were all demons who are also gang stalking. This is criminal conduct by the government that is engaged in gang stalking with the civilian population. They're not very civilized, but this is how they are referred to under the law. And they are stalking me in the bathroom, monitoring me, keeping this engineered light conduct and presence in the path, including surveillance by manning the path outside of the women's restroom. This is what Wendy's is engaging in. They're doing it while the entity was amplifying plane activity. And there are no terminals where they will be flying over these apartments either. But that's why they're not flying on the opposite side of my person over the OVITT Family Community Library over there. This is where they're usually flying over the city hall while they're stalking me at the Ontario Town Square proceeding to fly, which is I'm approaching the Ontario Town Square on the opposite side of this building. They're doing it based on relevant positioning to where I am at. That's what monitoring is about. This is a population that is stalking, okay? Exhibit A, license 9, Larry, Nancy, Xavier, 553. Manning the path as a population.
going to the venue that I'm headed to before me, you will be prosecuted for stalking. Stalking, gang stalking is not based on chronology. This is a federal case right here, and this is an entity. I'm going to prosecute the people of the state. This is P.O.C. The airport is literally stalking me. The city of Ontario is stalking me as I leave Wendy's, where they were. This person is the entity. They were monitoring my vagina. License 9LNX553. This does not create multiple shadows. These headlights. This is what they're doing, and the vehicles are not designed to create that light activity, multiple shadows, magnified size of your person, projected in front of you while they're driving behind vehicles. You see, you could barely see the light touching anything on this vehicle in front of it. It's not headlights. These are demons, and they're engaging in demonic behavior right in front of you. You are witnessing witchcraft. You are witnessing the satanic. This is P.O.C., and they're doing it with the entity that's stalking in planes and helicopters. This is the disbanding of the Ontario Police. They are a demon-possessed agency full of demons engaging in criminal activity, and that's a basis for what is terrorism. It becomes legally relevant because of the mental illness, the dysfunction of these corrupt actors, and the evidence is proving what is their infirmity. It is demon possession. It is supernatural, but it is also the evidence to disband them. They are a threat to the public while they are in this condition, demon possession, and their criminal conduct, criminal surveillance, and furtherance of murder. This is P.O.C. This is P.O.C. Hi. What's your name? Neil? Or what's it? What is it?
Leo.
Oh, Leo? Like L-E-O? Huh?
Yeah, Leo.
Leo? Okay, you work for Securitas, right? Okay, thank you. Leo's engaged in sexual assault and battery. And let me show you the light activity. This is one shadow, and here's another shadow right here. So he's riding on, this is light activity. He's criminally monitoring, so is Securitas. And this is the one that engaged in criminal summoning. He's going to prison. He's repeatedly engaging in sexual assault and battery. This is a demon. Here's, okay, light activity. You see the multiple shadows? He's riding on the golf cart, and impossible light activities, traveling across the wall. That's terrorism while he's stalking with light, and he's doing so on the job. He's a paid employee that's gang stalking, and he's serially engaging in sexual assault and battery, and doing so again tonight. And this is the Ontario Police Department that's relying on the ongoing violence of the people of the state. These are the demon-possessed who are mentally ill while they share an identical pattern of conduct. This is Leo. He's engaged in criminal summoning with the gang member CEASELESS. You're talking about the gang members, Richie and all the ones that didn't want to identify themselves. Those are federal charges while they are stalking me wearing police uniforms at the OVITT Family Community Library, engaging in the same exact conduct as the demons of the city of Ontario, repeatedly engaging in criminal summoning tonight while I remain at the Ontario Town Square under this amphitheater. The demon-possessed are surrounding with the repeated use of sirens, while the gang members of Downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments, the City Center Senior Apartments, the Metro 102 apartments are stalking with light. And they're engaging in what is ongoing harassment and terrorism together. These are gang stalking apartment complexes who have management companies. They have the people who are responsible for it. Those people are third-party gang stalkers, terrorists. In other words, I'm going to prosecute the companies. I'm going to prosecute the residents. And the entity is surrounded with the evidence, stalking me with the fake sun at all of these apartment complexes, stalking me by the Ontario International Airport, at all of these apartment complexes, stalking me with the Ontario Police Department, by helicopter as well, with the that's on the record, and also engaging in what is stalking with the fake sun, as I've been documenting it for years over all of these apartments where the entity is keeping it from sunrise until sunset. This is what the pattern is, stalking with light. It is currently, by the way, while this Securitas is engaging in sexual assault and battery, I'm going to prosecute companies for committing the perpetual sex offense, which is committed in furtherance of murder. So it's no ordinary sexual violence. It's also demonic. It's impossible, and it's relevant to what is targeting that is underway with the City of Ontario, who are criminally misusing the sirens and lights on emergency vehicles while they're keeping me under surveillance at the amphitheater of the Ontario Town Square. Leo is a demon-possessed psychopath. He's a paid vagina monitor. He's engaging in violence on behalf of Mike LORENZ. This is why that department's getting disbanded, by the way. This is P.O.C. The airport is stalking here. This is relevant to the criminal conduct of Securitas. It's 9 p.m. Just to confirm, the entity is indeed stalking by commercial planes. You're paying attention to where they're flying,
When I'm over there, they're flying right here. The reason why they're not is because they are stalking in relevant position to me. This is where the airport is stalking. That's where Leo and Securitas are stalking, committing the sex offense on behalf of the state. That's the city of Ontario that maintains no flights over the Ontario Fire Department, over the Metro 102 apartments. Nowhere over in this area is there any airport. I showed you the side of the Ontario Police Department, the Ontario City Hall, where you could see where they're flying over. There's no airport back there. This is all apartments and housing. There's no airport at all where you are hovering over based on what is being on the south side of my person, and you're paying attention to all my evidence where Sarah's Regis Group is molesting while they're pacing in and out of that garage, and the airport is flying over this portion while I'm on the opposite side of this clock. The reason why they're not doing that is because they are stalking me, and it's called relevant positioning. Based on where I am positioned, the airport is stalking with commercial planes remaining on the south side of my person. That's why they're stalking here. They're doing so now while the entity is sounding sirens as psychopaths who know that they have lost, who have a very high ego. The ego is why they're going to federal prison. Okay? The ego is relevant to what are demons. It's a spirit. It's also a very foolish spirit. This childish conduct is relevant to serious criminal activity, mentally ill murderers, and kidnappers. American Medical Response, Ontario Fire Department, Ontario Police Department are the children engaging in this sophomoric conduct while they are going to federal prison. Very serious consequences. The entities engaged in this, well, the airport is proven. This is evidence right here. Beyond a reasonable doubt, they're stalking, and so is Leo. That doesn't help him. And this is the entity that's engaging in that type of conduct while at the same time engaging in committing murders and kidnappers, as I've proven the city of Ontario is doing. This is P.O.C. This is psychopathic pacing, and he is stalking. That's not an employee. It's not constitutionally protected. Metro 102 is stalking with light back there. I documented many of those third parties are going to be prosecuted. I documented their license plates. They are on the internet. I've been documenting Metro 102 stalking me for years, and they're engaged in that pattern of conduct together as an entity. It is currently no coincidence that the entity is stalking by plane, as I capture that video as well. The entity does so with regard to psychological torture, and the entity that finds it entertaining while I'm documenting is the entity that needs to keep that same level of enthusiasm when you are going to be criminally charged, and then damages are going to follow your criminal activity relevant to terrorism. Okay, that's going to be unprecedented damages. Damages that are going to result in companies no longer existing, and that is justice. It is currently 9:04 p.m. American Medical Response, the Ontario Fire Department, the Ontario Police Department, criminal summoning. While the entity is stalking with light activity, with their hazard lights on, light activity with the lights and sirens, light activity while they're stalking in the path, light activity with impossible light. This is beautiful evidence. There is nothing that's going to cause that from the downtown apartments over there. So that light activity would be going in this direction, even though it wouldn't even reach over here. You saw it right here. It's coexisting with what is crossing a path by a stalker. That's what they're doing with the fake sun. Okay, this is the evidence that's going to be in court to prosecute the demons that are stalking as an airport. Okay, that's what they're doing. The demons that are stalking in relevant position as gang stalking apartment complexes. The residents and the employees in concert with the government. The entity that is engaging in what is sounding sirens while the people of the state are sharing in what is psychopathic pacing. This is what Securitas is engaging in. Molesting me with that impossible light activity while they're crossing path. All right, that's P.O.C. This is relevant. That light activity is what's going on with regard to the entity stalking me while the fake sun's over my head. And you see that engineer light moving all across. It's the same conduct at nightfall. It's not their headlights and it's not sunlight. This is the American Medical Response, engaging in terrorism in Ontario, California. The city of Ontario, engaging in terrorism, stalking as an airport, stalking as a police department, stalking as a fire department. These are the mentally ill that do require martial law. This is why the entity is engaged in what is repeatedly kidnapping. This is putting Craig Hazelwood in prison. The videos that I have them putting their hands on me, stealing my property, throwing my property away, while you are providing simultaneously evidence that you are gang stalking. And this is the forgetful, mentally ill psychopaths who provide evidence against each other. The entity that is stalking by helicopter, they are going to federal prison. They're stalking by commercial planes, they are going to federal prison. And that light activity is directly relevant to criminal conduct where you are, even if the airport was right here behind this apartment complex, understand how criminal monitoring is prosecuted. It's monitoring under all circumstances, not based on the address, location of the airport. The fact that I bring that up is relevant to the fact that there is no airport anywhere around here where they would even be flying over this sky space. But moreover, even if it were, you can concede that because that's not the point. That's proving targeting. Targeting is relevant to also the environment. If the airport were where the Ontario Fire Department were, the Ontario International Airport would be shut down because they are monitoring when you're looking at that light activity. It's criminal monitoring. They are monitoring for sure, beyond a reasonable doubt and to a scientific degree. Light activity is never resulting in that. My shadow is covering all over this wall. Okay, there's multiple shadows here, and you have the engineered light wall. The demons are gang stalking of Sarah's Regis Group. That's a gang stalking apartment complex. I'm going to prosecute civilly and criminally. That's an apartment complex, a business, a corporation that's serving criminal surveillance with the state of California. Okay, Securitas is engaged in what is criminal monitoring. They're not engaged in any constitutionally protected conduct. They're not on the job. Their work schedule is going to be evidence to prosecute them and the company. They're not innocent. That's why Leo was molesting. They will be prosecuted as gang stalkers on the job. They will be prosecuted as an employer facilitating terrorism. And it's a basis to deport. It's a basis of prosecution. It's going to be on a strict liability basis. The government system has already been established, and including while these full sound sirens on the video, stalk with impossible light in the video, stalked by commercial planes where there are no, you're clearly targeting from that airport in the video. This is P.O.C. It is currently 9:07 p.m. This is the Ontario Town Square. I am under the amphitheater, so many of the videos that I capture on the opposite side of this clock, that's relevant, informing you to why they're flying on this side over here, because when I'm over there, that's not where they're flying. Remember, they fly right behind, UPS was stalking, dipping behind here like they were landing behind the amphitheater. There's nothing back here. Nothing other than the City Hall, the Ontario Fire Department, the Ontario Town Square townhomes, all those apartments whose license plates I documented the gang stalkers that reside in relevant positions, engaging in surveillance in Ontario. This is P.O.C. This is the entity that's surrounded with evidence, the suicidal entity. All right, this is an entity that literally wants to take its own life. And while they engage in gang stalking other people because they dislike themselves, and that is the ability to categorically speak to what is wrong with the population because of the criminal and violent conduct of gang stalking, that is the entity that is engaging in this. And now when they're caught, that suicidal population provides evidence to its own demise. While they are still obsessively stalking me and obsessing over my vagina, their obsession is also proven through the stalking with light conduct. You want to touch me, you want to follow me around, you want attention, you're doing so while you are stalking under all circumstances. This is P.O.C. I just want to document this license plate. This is the entity stalking with impunity. This is a third-party license, license 9LGH667. This is surveillance by the state. One demon after another, maintaining light activity presence in the path while the government is stalking criminal surveillance by plane and helicopter. P.O.C. It is 9:44 p.m. and as you will witness on the Google Drive, the images that I'm capturing as I begin walking from the Ontario Town Square at 224 North Euclid Avenue. This is where the entity is maintaining ongoing surveillance by the Ontario International Airport, the City of Ontario, stalking, utilizing the airport in that city to stalk one person. This is domestic terrorism against one American citizen. This is the country, the nation, targeting one American citizen and furtherance of murdering that person. And I am that person that is documenting it in order to prosecute for the first time in history the United States government engaging in domestic terrorism against one of its own constituents and proving it, not a conspiracy theory, proven. And also science is proving it while the entity is demon possessed and their demonic behavioral pattern is establishing what is a proven pattern of conduct where it is impossible that it is anything other than a pattern of conduct connecting everyone and everything everywhere at all times while that supernatural pattern of conduct follows me. It exists. Not only does it exist, but that pattern of conduct follows me. And it is the entity that is stalking. And the stalking conduct occurs through the environment where the demon-possessed are engaging in what is demonic activity. And this is criminalization of demonic activity. And the U.S. government's essentially a cult, engaging in satanic conduct. And that's relevant to shutting down stalkers that are calling itself in Ontario International Airport. They are psychotic. And as I documented coming from the venue of Wendy's today at 590 Holt Boulevard, the airport was stalking me as I left that venue, walked back toward the Ontario Town Square, flying over the Ontario Town Square, the Ontario Town Square townhomes. And the entity's doing so while I'm leaving the Ontario Town Square now. And you see them flying along B Street. They're never flying at that distance while I'm at the square. They come closer as I go up and down North Euclid Avenue. And they're maintaining the same audible activity level, no matter how much west they are from the airport. This is the entity that does so regardless of the defendants that are going to prison, like Leo, being prosecuted like Securitas, going to federal prison like Jay Montez. This is an entity that engages in conduct with regard to what is self-destruction of the system that was never supposed to be exposed, and when they are criminal defendants providing evidence against each other, not circumstantial evidence, but direct evidence. And the entity is engaging in what is relevant to impunity. License 6 Charlie Apple David 311 is stalking with the government in furtherance of murdering me. That's why the government is in this neighborhood stalking by planes, which they are not maintaining surveillance by themselves, okay? And that's relevant to you hearing planes that are never going to be heard when the Ontario International Airport is maintaining flights that are legitimate, that are relevant to what the entity has the right under the law, the authority under the law to do. The entity has no authority to engage in stalking by planes, and that's what the airport is doing. And they're doing it with impunity, and they're doing it based on, again, just unchecked abuse of power. And so that's why they are conducting themselves as, we are the airport, we're the government, so we can do what we want, and that's absolutely false. License plate 9 Thomas Jerry Thomas 939, sexual assault and battery. That's a little midget. He's a Latino man. He looks like he's about 4'7". He's driving a sedan, stalking in the path and engaging in sexual assault and battery, coming out of an alley to commit a sex act with the government. Okay, license plate 88574 Yolanda 3. The government is engaging in what is criminal activity and doing so based on what is unchecked abuse of authority. Like I stated, they don't have any authority to engage in what they're actually engaging in. They are literally doing it because it has never ever been pointed out. It's never been identified as criminal, and it is absolutely criminal. So the entity is engaging in what is the abuse of and use of a airport to engage in criminal surveillance, and they're doing so admittedly in every video, on every podcast. Literally, as I document it, you'll hear the plane activity. As I speak to, in 2020, while I was standing at 226 North Vine Avenue, this is where the airport was stalking, and literally in that podcast, with simultaneity to my referencing that, the entity will repeat that same offense. And they're doing so, by the way, west of this location, where as you're taking off from an airport, with every second, you're heightening in elevation, are you not? You're getting farther and farther away from the airport. You're not remaining throughout the city from the airport, hovering from state to state at one elevation, or are you even going anywhere? Are you just doing cartwheels, following me around the city, which is proven through a fake sun and engineer light, where midgets that can't see over the steering wheel are molesting me because the government is stalking. That's the government that's going to be prosecuted and removed out of positions where they threaten American citizens, like Alan D. Wapner, like Mike LORENZ, like Michael GERKEN, like Paul Leon. Okay, the entity is engaging in that pattern of conduct, and it's relevant to those that need to be removed from the positions, like Gavin Newsom. Okay, these gang stalking mayors are in position and are engaging in a pattern of conduct throughout the city and county, such as Shannon Dykes and Robert Luna, because Gavin Newsom. This is, again, these are terrorist leaders who are posing a threat to American citizens who typically don't have evidence. They're sitting around as a vegetable, drugged up, being defamed, being kidnapped. And they're 6 feet under, they're dead already. So you never hear about how they were falsely accused and that they were innocent, and you're always assuming that they're guilty anyway, because who's going to put them through the court system? They must have proven them guilty, and that must be the truth, and that's a lie. The fact of criminal surveillance and gang stalking by a whole airport, by police departments, by county sheriff's departments, and by the population, and they're all demons. All of them. And not only do I have the evidence, you're looking at the entity, just give me just a wealth of evidence. You're looking at them stalking with impossible light in the video. Inexplicable light. And in the courtroom, when you're looking at these pale faces of Alan D., they will be in court. And they're going to be absolutely silent. Because there's nothing that you can say about that evidence. Absolutely nothing. And it is directly tethered to their name, to their position, to that department, to that territory regarding Southern California, regarding the city of Ontario, regarding the conduct, the operations of that airport, where I am surrounded by this environment all the time, an environment that I do not control, that I am not creating, but is surrounding me, while the airport has no business flying over B Street, hovering over the intersection, interfering with my ability to sit quietly at the Ontario Town Square. That's supposed to be a quaint area for the city to enjoy the history of the city of Ontario. No, not when they're engaging in psychological torture and domestic terrorism. Providing what is a public nuisance, which is what the city is doing while it's stalking. Amplified plane, amplified helicopter, amplified train, amplified everything, maintaining a hostile environment while they're monitoring. I'm going to prosecute. It's inhumane on top of criminal. These demons aren't thinking about that. But that's the entity that's providing evidence against the entity whose license plates I'm going to recite. This is what I'm typically taking pictures of and videos of while they are stalking me from place to place. And they keep providing what is evidence proving and confirming that they indeed are stalking. As I document, they stalk. I document them stalking me while I'm documenting. And that's the evidence confirming why I'm documenting license 9 Paul 0 Zebra 597. You are being prosecuted for stalking where you live. You don't have to come outside. It's already known that you're engaging in surveillance when you're inside of your apartment, and you thought that you would never be known and identified, or that it's not impossible to be able to even prove that. And you're wrong on all fronts, and I am prosecuting you for stalking me while I'm in the neighborhood subject to surveillance. License 9 Paul 0 Z 597 is indeed stalking, while the City of Ontario is stalking by planes along B Street. License 4 Frank Wendy Bob 631. They're all committing sexual assault and battery while the 4'7" midget is molesting as an entity. License 5JZJ706. These are sex offenders that otherwise get no attention from women, and so they commit group sex acts against me while they are stalking criminal activity sponsored by the government, which is also why terrorists like Mike Lorenz are being removed. He's being removed under all circumstances. He will be federally prosecuted as a terrorist. And the entity is going to be federally prosecuted under federal RICO. But with regard to, in the federal RICO case is relevant to prosecution for domestic terrorism. There are multiple routes regarding prosecuting this criminal activity that is demonic, relevant to mental illness. The entity will be subject to commitments as well. This is built into prosecuting gang stalkers. They are severely mentally ill. They are exceedingly violent sex offenders. Currently 9:53 p.m. License plate 8 Mary Queen Frank 684. License plate 8 Frank 21336. License plate 7 Jerry Paul Frank 584. The entity is maintaining the sound of train activity, Union Pacific. That isn't letting you know that the entity is surrounding you and is monitoring you. Any and everything where you have multiple shadows is serving surveillance. The entity is inevitably surrounded by evidence. It is the ability to prosecute. You have demons that are sitting in the dark in their cars, hiding behind buildings and alleys, waiting to commit the sex act of molestation, stalking in the sky space with plane and helicopter, engaging in what is that pattern of conduct, stalking in the path while a demonic environment surrounds you and you're thinking that it's the train in the city. And actually it's not. There's not even necessarily a train while you hear what you would liken to train activity. This is literally the reality of Satan. That is a spirit that is also perceived in the environment, creating sounds that you and your brain will automatically make an explanation for while you're not even actually paying attention. You're subconsciously giving explanation for what you're on. You're on your phone. You're dealing with other people. You're at work. You're going from place to place. You're intentionally distracted while you're being monitored in the United States, especially in California, very fast-paced state. But it's not the sun that's over you. You're not paying attention. That's not sunlight. That's all over the place, and that's moving all about and all inside of your car and all inside of your office and in your home and on your ceiling, things that you're not even paying attention to. You're being monitored. All right? And you're being monitored by people who are stalking you. Okay, and that's the entity that's acting through the government that has no right to be in your apartment complex, to be in your home, to be next door inside of your neighbor's home, monitoring you. The government has no warrant or probable cause. This is how gang stalking is underway. You are stalking where you go to work, where you go to church, where you go to the grocery store, where you go to the the gas station, where you drive on the roads and the highways. You're stalking, and the demon possessed are intentionally engaging in that, and they have no idea a legal framework. They can't even. They have no idea what is happening to them. They're ignoramuses. These are demonic spirits. They're nothing other than barbaric. They're rapists. They're murderers. They're animals. They're not intellectual. They're not intelligent. They do not have a legal mind. Okay, they are literally lawless demons under the fake sun, monitoring and doing so, accustomed to being invisible while they're right in front of your face. Well, everyone sees them now, and everyone sees them looking psychotic. Everyone sees them and knows what they are doing, and they're still doing it. That's relevant to mental illness. Everyone sees them doing it, and then you're going to be in court doing that. You're going to be, with regard to me, you're going to be on video in court looking at that while everyone's looking at it. They're going to be laughing at that as well. The fact that we're all looking at you, look at yourself on video and what you did and what you thought was a good idea to do at that time. When you could have avoided that because everybody knows that you were stalking the whole time, and you could have avoided being embarrassed on video, stalking me and monitoring my vagina. But this is what the entity is doing while they are, in fact, understand. It goes right back to their mental illness, because demon possession proven through the pattern of conduct. Everybody knows what's wrong with you when you're violating these laws. And it's relevant to your mental illness. You're going right to that padded room. License 7 Thomas Charlie 958. 6 Xavier Samuel Uncle 851. 8 Paul Wendy Edward 8 Paul Wendy Frank 666. 9 Apple Victor Thomas 881. Maintaining a fake church service. And how do I know that it's fake? Because the government is stalking me while I'm outside of the doors of a church where I'm supposed to be welcome. I'm not. I'm being targeted. And those are demonic spirits that are maintaining music, and they're actually monitoring somebody that's outside on the sidewalk, and they know exactly where I'm at and what I'm doing and what I'm saying. License 8 Xavier Uncle Henry 773. You also know all of that, which I just described, because when I walk during the day on video, what do you see over my head while I walk past this church that would like to be assumed to be focused on a church service as they say the name of Jesus? All right, a Dios. All right, Señor. They're gang stalking fake Christians who do not know Christ. They use it as audible activity. These are Satan-serving minions. Okay, and any of them that are immigrants, by the way, are being deported. License 6 Barry Larry Kelly 705. That's what's relevant. That's what's being told. That's what's revealed. That's exactly what's going to be prosecuted on a strict liability basis. Government stalking, that's the pattern of conduct. In the specific environment, the people do not have a chance. You don't have a defense. You're being prosecuted. License 6 Sam 0 Wendy 116. 9 Victor Apple Xavier 437. 8 Paul George 098 handicap. Okay, staying at the intersection, even though it says stop, not stay, that's because they're stalking. License plate. 8 Apple Karen Robert 262. Okay, that's a Latino male staring at his device while he crosses path. Okay, these communication devices, I just want to be clear, they're demonic. Okay, this is literally the demon possessed. This technology that they're referring to, that you buy. They have the hottest devices, and then you spend, about 800, I don't know, 2,000 every 6 months for a new iPhone. This is satanic, okay? Not the act of buying the product. The product itself is satanic. This monitoring conduct, it's built into devices. The spirit of Satan, it is operating in technology. And so these demons, when I'm showing you and they're studying their devices, it is as though, in order to give you a picture regarding what's actually happening, they're not stuck on Facebook and reading some comment in their DMs from somebody that they've been waiting to hear from. It's literally a demon-possessed person who is entranced with regard to the demonic behavior that they're engaging in while they are studying their device, which is rooted in what is a satanic spirit as well. It is literally demonic when they are engaging in the use of their devices. As I use my device, as you use your devices, they are, without looking at their devices, they know what's going on your phone. It's in their bodies, it's in their members, it's related to their demon possession. So when I'm telling you federal stalking is relevant to devices, surveillance online, it's literally based on what they know, because they are in fact demons, and this demonic activity is directly tailored to, as you can hear the plane activity, they're confirming, and because they're very triggered by what I'm talking about. That's why you heard that plane activity right now. The entity is engaging in demonic behavior based on the centrality of devices, technology, that is related to the demon possessed, who are aware of what you're doing on your device, and they are monitoring you in this environment. So the environment is there while they are monitoring you. For example, on your devices, say you go to Google and you download a PDF, somebody that's sitting next to you is a demon. They're not looking at you, not talking to you, you don't know them. They immediately stand up and go talk to the librarian behind you. They're doing so while you are uploading that PDF document. The same moment that you pressed download, they get up and go ask a question. They're getting up in engineered light. They have multiple shadows while they get up from their seat, and they go have conversation. That's audible activity in that engineered light. You're being monitored, and you're being monitored pursuant to simultaneity of your operation of your device. That is speaking to knowledge while that pattern of conduct is exhibited by demons who are literally affected in their body by what you do with your devices, what you're doing on your devices. They know what you're doing on your devices. These devices are relevant to monitoring this AI phenomenon. We have been being monitored for a very long time, and it is out of the pit of hell. This is the spirit of Satan that is operating amongst technology, and this is not a conspiracy theory. This is the P.O.C. prosecuting the demon-possessed, the government that's engaging in surveillancing us, and the P.O.C. is providing what is a means of tangible evidence, because you cannot prosecute with intuitive knowledge. You can't just be like, I know that they're guilty, so we're going to throw the book at them. That's not how the law works, and thank God, because you have people that are perfectly law-abiding citizens, even Christ followers, who would be locked up if that were the case. You need to be able to prove what it is that you are alleging, okay? Prove it to a legal degree of certainty. And that's reasonable doubt with regard to criminal activity. So the entities engaging, the P.O.C. is providing tangible evidence regarding proof of surveillance, okay? Now, what you know with regard to this, now we all know, first of all, that surveillance is underway. What you know also is that these are demons. This is the Nephilim. And this is surveillance that's going on all the way throughout this country. It's not just in California where I'm at. And you also know that because one fake sun that's remaining over me on one block in Ontario, you know that that's not the sun over you, the natural environment, because there's only one. So which one is it? The one that's remaining over me in Ontario all day? Well, you know that's not the behavior of the sun. But what is that that's over you in Texas? And what are they looking at in Florida? Because that couldn't be the same object that I'm looking at all day that does not leave from being near me. And also you've got one in Texas and you've got another in Florida. All right. And you're going to see the same thing. It's sitting all day wherever you're at in Texas, where you're at, when you pay attention to what it is that I've described. And the same thing in Florida. This is a demonic environment, Satan's demonic imitation of God's creation. And that is not what he created, a fake sun that hovers down next to the buildings that we dwell inside of, creating what is light that shoots like lasers, shadows above it. This is all manner of twisted conduct. It's wicked. It's demented. It's a demonic imitation, relying upon what is your ignorance while you are being monitored by Satan, demonic spirits, monitoring spirits. And it's the U.S. government. The U.S. government, that's very obvious. Now that I pointed out the obvious to you in the environment, yeah, they're stalking by planes. They're stalking by helicopters. They're monitoring as demons who are aware of what's going on your phone. And the phones, literally the devices that we use, this internet, is relevant to their demon possession. It is demonic as they stare at it. Okay, as they are staring at, as they're in use of it, it is directly tethered to. Pay attention to play the tape back when you started hearing the plane activity, and the plane activity is starting where I'm at B Street and B Street and Fern. What happened to the plane activity that started way back at Euclid Avenue and B Street? I've walked west. I've walked west. Now, they're still going to proceed. My documentation when I'm at the Stater Brothers Ontario Village Shopping Center. And they're still acting like they're hovering, and they haven't quite taken off there yet either, maintaining loud plane activity. Matter of fact, the loud activity is relevant to how triggered they are. Depends on what I'm talking about. Depends on what I'm publishing on the internet, how angry the demons are, because that's relevant to how loud the plane activity will be. It has nothing to do with the takeoff. It's blatant stalking. And they're stalking pursuant to demons that are flying commercial planes or a threat to national security. Demons are suicidal. Demons are psychotic. Demons are violent sex offenders obsessed with your genitalia, salivating over it, while they also want to have babies. They want to maintain a family. They want a veil of normalcy, and they are not at all. So this is an entity that is stalking with light activity. Let me give you this license. The light activity occurs before they arrive. 8YWG 927. That's a demon stalking with the airport. That's a psychopath. These are murderers that are engaged in what are using these vehicles on the roads and the highways. They don't have car accidents. These are monitoring spirits that know what you're doing on your phone. They know when you're moving your big toe inside of your shoe. They know when you're moving your middle finger when you've got your hand in your pocket. They know what's going on with your genitalia in the bathroom when they're not in there. And they are not accidentally hitting each other with vehicles on the freeway. They're not ignorantly making money from insurance companies that are corrupt, engaging in state surveillance under the fake sun running these businesses. This is an entity that's engaging in what is profiting off of surveillance in the state of California. And they're very foolish as well. These are demons that are fully aware and apparently welcoming what is their exposure, because the entity is stalking as an airport, and that's going to be very costly in a courtroom. And it's also going to be very painful with regard to who's going to prison, because bodies are going to prison. I absolutely require that. You're going to federal prison. So this is the entity that's doing that, but these are demons. Very childlike, sophomoric mindset, very serious criminal activity, very dangerous, impulsive character and behavior, but also very, very childish. If you tell Satan not to do it, Satan will do it, just like a 7-year-old, okay? That's very dangerous, though, when Satan is on the police force calling himself a cop, and he's got a gun, and you've got corrupt courts that are standing at the line ready to defend what is abuse of these positions, because that's exactly what it is. They're not engaged in law enforcement, they're engaged in surveillance. And like I stated, when you're looking at the demon-possessed, I tell you that they're, and you can see it, not just I tell you, but I'm telling you because you'll see the pattern. They're studying their devices. They're sitting in their car looking like zombies studying their devices. The demonic spirit, it's in their devices. What I do on my phone, it's in their bodies. They don't have to look at anything. They automatically know what I'm doing on my phone. They know what you're doing on your devices. Okay, so this Satanism, this satanic conduct, this AI, this is relevant. AI is born of monitoring human beings, and it is of the spirit of Satan, designed to be deceptive, designed to mimic human beings who have been being monitored. And it's relevant to the use of technology. These devices that you are utilizing, that you're buying, that you spend so much money on, by the way, the spirit of Satan itself is relevant to what is animating the demons that are studying them as they're stalking me. Now, I just want to point these things out to you. They're not just looking at the phone screen, okay? They are getting dark. It's dark spiritual, it's demonic. But they are being spiritually fed, if you will, as demons while they study their devices monitoring. It's demonic what they're getting out of the phone. Okay, it's demonic. This is getting to also the use of social media. So anyway, I just want to point that out. But this is what the entity is doing, and it's telling on everyone everywhere. These are demons that are gang stalking at a fake church. They're not holding a genuine church service. This is surveillance. The demon-possessed know that they're hellbound also. Their purpose in existing, when you know that you're hellbound, when you know that you're in dark and your ongoing agenda is to maintain an appearance, a lifestyle of normalcy, it's because your purpose here as demon-possessed chosen ones are to deceive as many as possible while you are here until you're gone. In other words, until you're hellbound, you're going straight to hell when you die, and you know it. And you're here to engage in things such as gang stalking other people, torturing other people that you perhaps know walk with Christ, and they know who you are. When you don't have demons on you, Satan's targeting you. He knows who you are. Okay, it is a means of persecution, but they will also target another demon. If they're mad at, somebody, they're mad at their husband who left them for another woman, and you could be subject to being targeted, and they kill each other. They do it all the time. LAPD is gang stalking, and they're murdering the people of the state who are gang stalking me. Running somebody down in the middle of the street, that's the people of the state. They kill each other, but they also target American citizens like me who know nothing about this until it happened to me. And the Lord God wants me to speak on it. That's what I'm exposing. And it's satanic. It's relevant to where we are at in history, okay, and what Satan is doing right now. And it's also relevant to the entity that knows that they know they're going straight to hell. They're on an agenda to deceive as many people as possible. And the Nephilim cannot secretly exist among us anymore. This is what I'm letting you know. And the fact that they are gang stalking in the most extreme ways, that lets you know how much of a priority it is. They're not concerned about anything else. They're out here trying to blend in with people like you and I, normal people, okay? And they don't blend in because you could see how they spend millions of dollars on stalking me. That shows how much of a priority it is. They're not focused on anything. They're not worried about going to work. They want you to be distracted. They want you to not think about and realize what's going on. They are focused on deceiving and bringing down and taking out as many people as possible. And they're demons that are doing that. Demon-possessed people. It is the agenda of Satan. Okay, and it is operating through technology. It is operating in the environment as I've exposed it to you. And this is how you are prosecuting with tangible evidence. And where the government is targeting, like the airport is, the government is telling on everyone else. And that will literally be the means whereby, like in any other criminal matter, where you are looking for the elements to prosecute for murder, the evidence of premeditation. Okay, you're talking about the actus reus, the actual acts that were committed that accomplished that intentional act of taking the life of another other human being. It's the same thing with criminal monitoring. The elements, you've got the government, you've got the environment. The people of the state are all quiet at 2 o'clock in the morning in their homes, and guess what? Everybody's being prosecuted. Your silence it's a pregnant silence, and everyone knows what's going on. You don't have one part of the P.O.C. without the other. And how do you even know that certainty? There's no question, because it will never be the natural environment. That is never going to be the sun. That will never be sunlight. That will never be the product of what is standing under artificial light. Two shadows standing next to each other, and there's only one me. Why is my shadow taller than me? Why is my shadow upright looking at me like another person? And who is that sitting in the dark on the street? They're stalking and monitoring you. They're demons. And they know what's going on between your legs. You will absolutely be prosecuted. I will get your house number, and I don't even have to have a conversation with you. This is P.O.C., okay? That's what you need to understand, and that's what's going on in the U.S. This is how the U.S. is going to be prosecuted with regard to trying to murder and slaughter American citizens and thinking no one knows, and even if you do know, you can't prove it, and if you even try to utter something, then you're a paranoid schizophrenic. You're delusional. You're going to find yourself locked up in a facility like these pilots gang stalking with commercial airline planes. 8 Uncle Jerry Kelly 251. P.O.C. It is currently 10:13 p.m. Stalking, license plate 7 Charlie Kelly Edward 378. Okay, he's particularly angry because that sex offender knows he was documented right now, but he shouldn't, but he does because he's actually stalking. License plate David Frank, 8 Victor Jerry Robert 311. Stalking, sexual assault and battery. License plate 9 Bob Charlie Thomas 501. All right, and by the way, you're looking at the psychotic conduct of a very malicious government. That's the government driving by vehicle after vehicle after vehicle, acting through the population. See, Mike LORENZ thought that they think that they're slick, and they're actually not. They're ignorant vagina monitors. They're so stupid, they're stalking in helicopter, and you're supposed to forget about that 5 minutes later, and they're supposed to be presuming. No, nobody is presuming anything. They clearly see what is going on here. Okay, the entities engaging in that, and every demon driving by is the same police department. 8 Thomas David Edward 975. And they're all demons. They're all demons. All of them. P.O.C. All right, stalking at Vesta and Vine. This isn't coincidental. It's called meeting while you're tracking your steps. This is a stalker. This is a male. License plate 8 Xavier Kelly Mary 053. P.O.C. And there's the airport confirming. That's all the government does is confirm that they're stalking and they're going to be prosecuted. 7 Apple Jerry Frank 388. It's the stupidest thing that they could have ever done. These are not formidable adversaries. This is a slam dunk case that I completed a long time ago. Sexual assault and battery while the government is stalking at 507 Vesta. This looks like Amazon. Let's see what sex offender it is. Oh, no, it's another one. It's GLS. License 78329 Charlie 4. GLS is a commercial actor. Creeping in the middle of the night. That company is a terrorist. That company is a violent sex offender. GLS. Gang stalking, and I've documented them before. P.O.C. They're gang stalking with the Ontario International Airport that's maintaining flight along what is the Vesta. I'm at 507 West Vesta Street. The people of the state are gang stalking at that address, and at one address is speaking to all the addresses all the way up and down the street. And the entity is doing so while a stalker, that's the government, driving in a broken down Altima via a demon-possessed third party, the people of the state, stalking me from place to place, meeting at the intersection as I arrive there, molesting with impossible light, while no airport from Terminal 2 are even going to be in this location at all. And you're always paying attention to, it's always the same level of elevation, it's always the same volume, and by same volume, I mean, you're sounding as though, and this is again, they're very unintelligent, but that's because the objective is to make noise. Oh, we'll do noise in the form of the plane taking off. Even though there's no planes taking off over 507 West Vesta Street. 2500 Airport Road does not include that Terminal 2 and Terminal 4. When I'm aboard Omnitrans bus and I show you while that fake sun is over me and we're driving by Southwest Airline planes parked on Terminal 4. You can see the planes where they take off, and it's nowhere near here, and there will be no taking off when you are taking off from that airport, rather. There's no hovering over the Ontario Plaza apartments. There's no hovering over Woodside Senior Apartments where Tracy Banks, you're targeting, and you are idiotic in targeting while somebody is documenting it. Meaning I'm documenting when I'm west of this location and you're still acting like you're hovering. I'm documenting when I'm in Montclair and you're still acting like you're hovering. Where are you taking off from? Well, I'm documenting when I'm in Fontana and there's no airport in Fontana and you're still hovering. You're hovering over me in the intersection under a fake sun at that, and you're engaging in the same conduct. It's asinine. It's as asinine as the fake sun. The demon-possessed never intended to be intellectually challenged with their pattern of conduct. They're ignoramuses. These are spirits. The Nephilim are not intellectually advanced at all. They're pure sex offenders, murderers that are spirits, and they use people who are made into murderers and sex offenders. They are not intelligent. They do not learn. They don't recalibrate. Okay, well, we got this and we don't want to look as though we're engaging in a pattern whereby you can prosecute under the law. They don't know the law. They're idiots. Okay, because what you want to do is avoid, and I can speak to this because you're not going to do it. You can't. First of all, it's already proven. But second of all, you can now. Once you're engaged, if you're not engaged in a pattern of conduct, I will never acquire a body of evidence establishing a pattern of conduct. The pattern is established after the first time. 2 or more occurrences. Okay, well, we've got more than 9,000 videos. Okay, you're of a pattern of conduct at that is supernatural. Of the fake sun being beside buildings, of engineer light arriving in the depths of hallways where there's no sunlight at all. But I'm looking at my shadow inside of a hallway. What is everybody in that environment doing inside of that building? They're all stalking, all of them. This is very plain to see. That's where the government is stalking as well. And they're highly, highly unintelligent. And they're very triggered while I call them to their faces, you're stupid. You are stupid, though. You actually are. And you're triggered because I'm not just name calling like the demon-possessed do. I'm telling them the truth. They know that they're stupid. And they continuously do stupid things in their stupidity because they're triggered, focused on me. And you do more of the same, establishing a pattern of conduct. They are inevitably inferior, in other words, inevitably. They're demons. They're lower beings. All right? But that's the entity that is stalking, and they're doing so while it's being documented. And there's no way to acquire the pattern of conduct. Unprecedented allegations against the government. That is indeed full of creatures. Okay, these are disgusting, despicable creatures who do wicked, diabolical, deranged things with each other and to other people while they also engage in criminal activity. And this is the demon-possessed. So I just want to make that clear. My evidence is thorough. So I don't make any conclusions that are unsupported. Even when I know what the conclusion is, because I am doing this publicly, I do not speak on that until I have the evidence where everyone is witnessing why it is I'm saying what I'm saying when I say it. Okay, so license plate. License, this is sex offender 9, Victor Bob Zebra 889, and so is habit. License 9, Jerry Mary Jerry 055, sex offender, sexual assault and battery. And this is the entity that's engaging in surveillance just like they are at the Ontario Town Square. Sitting around molesting. You saw those videos, that engineer light? It's not their headlights. And during the day, it's not the sun that they're engaging in this conduct in. Sitting in and surveilling a woman, surveilling her genitalia, sitting in the parking lot while you're listening to her relieve herself, while you're monitoring her and her legs are open, her genitalia is exposed, and you're sitting just like this, waiting to touch her with light while she's walking in and out, while you're stalking with a network of devices, a bunch of demons who are doing so with the government that's stalking, covering the sky space and planes, maintaining an ongoing system of surveillance. Those are predators. Okay, that's what this sex offender is, and that's exactly why they're on the internet with the appropriate label all over them. Sex offenders. 9VBZ889, P.O.C, and that's a serial stalker. Serial stalkers are going to federal prison whether or not I documented you sharing in the elements of monitoring with the Ontario police. Whether or not you stole my property or whether or not you threatened to engage in physical harm, you're going to federal prison as a serial stalker. License plate 9VVL493, stalking with light in the parking lot. 9RXP018, Stater Brothers is stalking with all of the above. Okay, P.O.C. is currently, by the way, 10:23 p.m. Stater Brothers is gang stalking with its customers. Stater Brothers relies on the demons, who are the people of the state, to maintain light activity, stalking in the path, because Stater Brothers is invested in the same criminal system. Stater Brothers' criminal system is surveillance, and they happen to be engaged in the provision of groceries for you to purchase, while the United States maintains surveillance, and business formations are for that purpose of maintaining criminal surveillance. They are absolutely invested. They rely on their customers to engage in that surveillance because it's a corrupt, fraudulent business. And that's why they have engineer light in the hallway when you're walking to the bathroom. That's why you go to that extent to have that. That's not accidentally, coincidentally, nor ignorantly there. And it is a very poor form. These are demons who are violent sex offenders, and they cloak themselves by calling themselves things like family community library, family markets, while they're monitoring your vagina. P.O.C. GLS that's triggered by being called a sex offender is lurking in the dark parking lot, so they can repeat it again. That same pattern. Okay? P.O.C. Let me go ahead and show you a picture. License 78329 Charlie 4. This is what UPS did, triggered while I document them, and then they go to Wendy's and stop in the middle of the parking lot. I'm going to prosecute GLS for that. They want to go to prison, that's fine. One less terrorist, but these are the mentally ill. That's the mentally ill, the child that feels like I have to do something to get you back because they're listening to me document. This is a sex offender that is GLS the company, and this is a sex offender that's operating a GLS vehicle. And you will go to federal prison for those impulses that you fail to control. That's an unlawful threat. Sitting there lurking in the dark as a sex offender that wants to touch all over my body with light while you're monitoring in furtherance of murder. And that's because they are triggered by what they are listening to me document about them. It's currently 10:25 p.m. P.O.C. Oh. All right, I just want to document, these are third parties that are monitoring. GLS is sitting in the dark parking lot where all of the stores are closed over here, waiting for me, okay? In the same way that the entity engages in what is being in front of me, that is being ahead of me, and that's supposed to be the evidence that you're not stalking, okay? That's the entity that is unsophisticated and unintelligent with regard to prosecuting your own system. But this is the entity that's engaged in that pattern of conduct. Oh, I'm in front of you, so I'm not stalking. Oh, I work here, so I'm not stalking. Oh, I was here before you, so I'm not stalking. Oh, I stayed here after you left, so I'm not stalking. It's an entity that's surrounding you everywhere at all places. And you remain on the shift at your job while you are stalking. And as I leave, while you stay at work, you are still stalking as an entity as I go to another place and they're engaging in that same pattern of conduct with an entity of third parties just like that, maintaining that same ongoing presence where the entity is engaging in what is that malicious pattern of conduct amongst a corrupt population. But nonetheless, GLS is sitting in the dark parking lot. I took a picture of it. The moment that I get there and they get to satiate their sexually perverted group sex acts that they want to commit as gang stalkers, touching with light, the moment that they get that, that's when they start driving off. They were sitting there waiting. That's a predator. Okay? That's the entity that's engaging in that while they are monitoring evidence. That's what GLS is doing. We got a bunch of gang members just standing outside of the grocery store, engaging in the same thing, doing so with their headlights on, and the entities engage in that while Starbucks is gang stalking, but while Stater Brothers is profiting from that, and Stater Brothers is very heavily documented. As I document these businesses, it's a prosecution of the entire state of California. These businesses are establishing how the corrupt, fraudulent businesses are maliciously targeting with the government. They are not private parties. They're not engaging in any private activity. They are not protected under the Constitution, and they are maliciously exploiting the Constitution with regard to obstruction of justice while I've been maintaining this investigation. So kidnapping, such as what Starbucks has committed, ongoing harassment in concert with gang members of any police department, let alone the Ontario Police, is the basis of federal prison. Okay, that's the P.O.C. When you're summoning the police under the fake sun, you're going to federal prison. It's the absurdity of their pattern of conduct. It's absurd. It's so corrupt. P.O.C. Alrighty, it's 10:58 p.m. and this is the audible activity of the Stalking Airport. And 9XCYP56, I believe. These are demons that are stalking on surveillance cameras as I'm walking out of the Stater Brothers, where the entity is maintaining a sex offender inside of the all-gender restroom. And remember the time of night. I just want to be clear. The entity that's engaging in gang stalking is doing so. They're targeting as those that are coming to the grocery store to go use the public restroom where you're coming from home, supposedly, to come use the public restroom. They're doing so while they're coming and doing so as an employee. Doesn't matter whether you're coming from home or whether you're as an employee. They're engaging in surveillance with the airport that you can hear that audible activity. The entity's doing so while they are engaging in surveillance in the parking lot. The license plate that I read to you when I arrived at this venue is engaging in that, the one in front of Habit. Habit's engaged in surveillance in a bathroom. The people of the state on the property of Habit are engaging in surveillance in a bathroom. The Ontario International Airport is engaging in surveillance in a bathroom. The entity that is employed at the venue is engaging in surveillance in a bathroom. The demons that are shopping at the venue as the guys for stalking an American citizen are engaging in surveillance in a bathroom. And the entity is engaging in what is stalking at the Ontario Village Shopping Center, which is west of, when you're hearing this same level of volume, meaning the planes have never, when you're logically thinking about what they're doing, the plane has still yet to heighten in elevation. We're still hearing the same plane activity volume as though you are still perpetually taking off. When are you going to, in other words, rise up and elevate into the sky space to where I can't see the logo, to where we can converse and I can talk on my phone without competing with plane activity like you're taking off over the parking lot. They actually are, though. They are stalking throughout the city, and that's why west of this location, the entity is stalking at the Starbucks in that parking lot. That's why east of this location, the entity's at the same elevation, gang stalking me at what is B Street and Fern. That's why east of this location, the entity is gang stalking at what is B Street and Euclid Avenue, while the entity is hovering over the Ontario Town Square in the same exact manner, which is east of this location. They're flying west, and they're not rising in any elevation. Moreover, there are no flights at all when you're taking off and conducting an actual legitimate flight, and as opposed to targeting as an airport that's engaging in surveillance in a bathroom, maintaining a stalker in that private space to stalk in the path. And as they use the dryer with regard to knowledge about what's going on with my vagina, waiting until I'm exposed, waiting until my legs are spread apart to engage in what is amplified noise conduct, pursuant to monitoring by the demons that are stalking as an airport, by the demons that are all inside of the grocery store, lurking in aisle 5, lurking at the produce, gang stalking, coming in and out, carrying things in their hands while they're stalking in the path as the employees monitoring on their devices together inside of Stater Brothers that has the airport stalking at the facility. That's how you know that they're not focused on and they're not protected engaging in anything at the grocery store. You're not working, you're gang stalking, and that's exactly how the law sees it. And that's exactly how you're going to be prosecuted. So literally you're the entity that's engaging in, well, I'm not stalking, I don't know the target individual and I'm at work, that is your admission for gang stalking. Your presence is criminal, and it is while the government is exposing you as a stalker, stalking at the Stater Brothers at 646 West Holt, where there are no flights that are going to coexist with being over this sky space, flying over me at the entrance. I took a picture of it. You're listening to that volume. This is the entity that does so with regard to what's supposed to terrorize and frighten and traumatize and stop me from documenting. I have over 9,000 videos. These are demons that are mentally ill and deficient, and so they are providing what is ongoing study for you to understand what Satan is doing, what the government is doing, how you can enforce your rights, and how law is going to treat what is exposed and proven in the United States, which is domestic terrorism. Okay, while the intellectually inept are providing what is the ways in which you are able to understand exactly what they're doing, and also how they are incompetent. These are mentally ill criminals who are violent sex offenders. They do things like crouch in bathrooms and wait for you to spread your legs apart so that they can make noise monitoring you. And all they're doing is pacing. As a population, they're not even walking and focused on actually doing anything. They're a population maintaining an ongoing front of fake a whole illusion of existence and purpose of existence. And all they're doing is pacing all around back and forth under the fake suns that are all throughout this country. They're psychotic. And that's why the airport is at 11 o'clock at night stalking me. That's millions of dollars that are prioritized for one person. And the government's going to be prosecuted with the very foolish provision of evidence against everybody that's at work right now. Everybody that's at the venue, everybody that's on surveillance cameras, because I will use all of it to prosecute. There will not be a question about who was what and what happened and where was it. There's not going to be any question, and I'm going to prosecute. They have not thought about that either, but this is the entity that's not supposed to. Demons are not superior to anyone. They are literally lower beings, demonic beings that are being exposed, and they're being made an example out of, and that's why they're in that sort of very foolish conduct as far as a prosecution goes, as far as in a courtroom. And that's too high-minded for demons that are monitoring your genitalia to consider. But this is in a courtroom, and it's already a closed case. It's already completed. And here we are again. You're listening to the podcast, and this is the entity again providing more evidence of stalking me. This is what was happening on B Street. The B Street is not, again, some straight path throughout the city. The Ontario Town Square in perfect alignment with Woodside Senior Apartments, in perfect alignment with the Pizza Hut, in perfect alignment with what is Ontario Airport Inn on G Street, in perfect alignment with what is Economy Inn at the 60 freeway, in perfect alignment with the American Inn, such that they're just flying a straight line from the airport, and I just happen to be everywhere where you can coincidentally just fly over and you're not veering any direction in order to maintain that presence over me in the sky space where you're never hiding in elevation either. This is the entity that is clearly stalking in planes, flying to where I'm at a low elevation. With regard to what is also amplified audible activity, it's demonic. It's not even the volume, the natural volume of the planes. When they're flying at a heightened elevation, the entity still provides that same level of amplification. This is indeed demonic. It is supernatural, and it's occurring while the entity is engaged in what is monitoring my vagina, which again, Stater Brothers, is no family markets. Sex offenders work here. Sex offenders come here to engage in sexual violence. Sex offenders are sharing in that ongoing perverted appetite while they're stalking as a city. In doing so, homosexual predators, women that are obsessed with me, who are stalking me, are doing so while they are merely demon-possessed of a female gender, and that same demonic spirit is using their person, using that vessel. That's how you have a spirit of a sex offender and a female, okay? This is the P.O.C. Predatory conduct is not based on gender. It's not worse or less worse because of the male gender having a different genitalia than females. That's not how you are assessing predatory conduct. Okay, sexual violence as it's underway by a female or a male is equally sexual violence. All right, and these are the demon-possessed who are engaging in violence, exceedingly deranged violence, while it's serving the purpose of they're conspiring murder. And this is what they do before they murder. They focus on your genitalia. They stalk you obsessively. They psychologically torture you. They harass and terrorize you. They do more so of it while it's supposed to be entertaining. It's supposed to be that which gratifies them. They're witnessing me laughing at them. They're triggered by what it is that I document. I'm humiliating them on the internet. They are always providing me a steady flow of evidence, and it is already prosecuted on the internet. This is an entity that is thoroughly defeated, and all they can do, well, what they could do, and that's why you're going to be prosecuted so severely, because it's terrorism, because what the government could do is stop. And it's relevant to the prosecution. The government did not stop. That's a matter of evidence. Thus, you will have a lot of people who are going to federal prison because this is going to establish precedent. This is P.O.C. It is 11:06 p.m. at 646 West Holt Boulevard. Stater Brothers, I believe, is headquartered in San Bernardino, California, the largest county in the United States. And this is also relevant, and I don't think it's a coincidence that California is breaking history in a horrible way. They will be infamous regarding domestic terrorism. And Stater Brothers is going to be fully prosecuted. I'm going to drain them dry with regard to a civil means of prosecuting, meaning taking all the money regarding criminal activity, and they're both going to be criminally penalized, and also the civil case is designed to also penalize as well. And it's for unprecedented acts of terrorism, such as bathroom monitoring, which is underscored while the government is stalking you as you walk outside of that venue, letting you know that everyone is engaging in what is surveillance of your genitalia. That is also psychologically harmful, and Stater Brothers cannot afford to pay me what they will pay me, though. They will. They can't afford it, but they're going to. It is currently 11:07 p.m. This is P.O.C. All right, the following are all engaged in vagina monitoring with the Ontario International Airport that is engaging in surveillance of genitalia as opposed to maintaining legitimate operations as an airport. They are engaging in surveillance, and so are the people of the state that are engaging in surveillance in the parking lot. These are predators like you see outside of Wendy's today with that impossible light. And they even as the personification of demons in these vehicles with their headlights aimed toward me, these are psychopaths who are engaging in gang stalking, and they're doing the most perverted, psychotic, criminal conduct on behalf of the government, which speaks volumes about the government that's engaging in things like genitalia monitoring, bathroom monitoring, gang stalking in bathrooms. License 49975, handicap. Stater Brothers employees are stalkers sitting inside of the venue, waiting until I'm packed up, getting ready to walk away. That's when they're walking out of the exit. This is pacing for monitoring me as I am on the grounds moving around. 8 Victor Uncle Frank 299, license 8 Wendy Yolanda Adam 612, license Edward Mary 17 Uncle 59. This is a female. These are the Stater Brothers employees, and she's driving a white Nissan. These are the Stater Brothers employees engaged in surveillance in a bathroom in furtherance of murder. They're doing so with the demons that are paying money as customers to come gang stalk me. All right, that's literally what the entity do when I'm documenting Marriott Bonvoy, right? And I'm staying at the I'm staying in Sherman Oaks, rather. The entity is engaging what is paying money to gang stalk me at these hotels. You're paying $350 for a room so you can be next to me and monitor me in that hotel room. That's how invested the demon-possessed are, okay? The little brokies that are getting welfare while they're gang stalking me in the hood while they're living outside on the weekends, and then the city pays for them to have a hotel room for $60 at Economy Inn where they can keep me under surveillance in concert with the government. This is the entity that's engaged in that. That's how invested they are. Stater Brothers is not about groceries. They make money off of that while they're engaging in surveillance. License 01080Z3. This is the entity that's going to be federally prosecuted. Bathroom monitoring is one of the most despicable, disgusting acts committed by the government that is a violent sex offender, and this is the fruits of demon possession. Okay, I want to document these sex offenders over here at Habit. These are the demons that are very much acting with impunity, meaning they know that they're being documented, and you have this ongoing boldness. This is what I documented. It's impunity. But you have stalkers that are engaging in sitting there in the pattern of engaging in the pattern of conduct. This is you're witnessing what a federal judge is going to assess in court. The government that is terrorizing, stalking, monitoring your genitalia, engaging in that conspicuously while they're monitoring your evidence so that they know that you're documenting them stalking and they're committing a threat while maintaining that ongoing surveillance. This is what's identified with the entity that I'm going to repeat their license plate. They've been engaged in surveillance the whole time. 6 Zebra 71175. While the entity is flying over me at the entrance of Stater Brothers, I told you that they're stalking. That's exactly what they're doing while Stater Brothers is stalking, while the airport is stalking, flying over the, not just over the parking lot. You're looking at the image, they're flying over the entrance area of the Stater Brothers. Just like when I'm in the back parking lot of the Ontario Village Shopping Center, they were flying over the back portion, the opposite side of the building. That's the airport that is stalking, and so is this third party. Keeping my vagina under surveillance with the sex offender that maintain position while they are stalking and monitoring me together. This is, again, surveillance, conspicuous surveillance. Third party 9 Victor, Bob Zebra 889. And doing so with the government that is engaging what is threatening with the gang stalking airport that's stalking by commercial planes. Hold on one second. You can hear the rain, so I am getting my other phone out of my pocket. I'm going to get a visual because this is federal prison territory right here with this third party. P.O.C. And this is also Habit. It's not based on Habit's closed, Habit's being documented. License 9VBZ889. Okay, P.O.C. This is light activity. This is ongoing devotion to the government, commitment to the government. You're so committed, you go into federal prison. Okay, because that's where these officials are going. That's where these demons of the police departments are going. This is the criminal conduct that they're responsible for, and you're going to prison while you're gang stalking. That's exactly where you're going. You're going to federal prison. So this demon's been engaged in surveillance on behalf of the gang members of the Ontario police that are stalking me by helicopter everywhere, that are doing so as I publish evidence on the internet, on social media. And they have vagina monitors in position, stalking with light. They work at Stater Brothers, and they also engage in surveillance at Stater Brothers on behalf of that government, and they do so in your face. Now, the entity is not supposed to be gang stalking you at all, but what you're doing is you're analyzing the threat. the federal government is going to address what are terrorists who are in the face of American citizens being exposed, and they're still persisting on gang stalking, meaning I'm going to sit here and I'm going to keep on monitoring with the state. This is the government that is insisting on stalking you while a third party remains, okay? So that's the threat behind that. That's what third party, and it doesn't matter. You can get out your car, and because this is what they'll do. Oh, and that's supposed to be, I'm here because I'm waiting for an Uber, and then we're going to switch cars, and then we're driving to Vegas, and I'm going to leave my car. It doesn't matter. This is the P.O.C. The fake sun, the engineered light, the stalking by the government. And then you do whatever it is that you're engaging in that pattern of conduct. The government is engaging in stalking and has no right to do so, conspiring your murder. And then they'll engage in that through the people of the state. This third party is going to federal prison. License 9 Victor, Bob Zebra, 889. Want you to hear that plane activity? He's going to prison. This is P.O.C. Oops. That's federal prison. And this is the entity that, I just want to be clear, their mental illness, their demon possession is what's putting them in prison. This is no show of force. The demons of the Ontario Police Department, they're going to prison. The same mental illness causes them to fail to appreciate what is happening to you and what you are told is going to happen and what you're not going to do, and they do it anyway. Nobody cares that it's a black woman that you don't respect. Nobody cares that you don't like that you don't feel like a woman should be telling. Nobody cares that you're a demon and you got away with murdering 14 people and you've never been accountable before. Nobody cares that you're a middle-aged white man or you're some 65-year-old Asian or whatever your race is where you think you're superior. Whatever complexes you have, you are going to prison, and this is actually going to happen. And this is why. This demon right here is going to federal prison. This is going on the record. License 9 Victor Bob Zebra 889. Engage in what is an unlawful threat to an American citizen while the government pulls out a helicopter, you're going to prison. While the government pulls out planes, you're going to federal prison. While you sit there conspicuously stalking and threatening on behalf of the government, and you're sitting there monitoring monitoring the evidence, and it's already known that you're monitoring. It's not going to be based on, oh, I don't know. They already know that you know. You're going to federal prison. The entity just sounds plain activity. The demons are already handled. Ontario police are handled. The Ontario International Airport is handled. The people of the state are going to be handled. He's going to prison. I'm pretty sure that this is a male. This is not a man, but I'm pretty sure that this is a male. License 9 Victor Bob Zebra 889. That's P.O.C. I just want to document that. That's the policy. The other third party that's over here stalking in the path with the airport, the same impunity is at issue here. You have what is documenting the entity, and then when you're analyzing the evidence, I have captured the entity as I get their license plate. You're gang stalking me where you live day in and day out, and then I document when you're analyzing, oh, this same third party is the one that's chasing me at the Ontario Mill stalking, and then you're realizing all the other instances of them stalking. They're going to prison with this evidence. License 9HLY780, license 8GGZ198. They are stalking in the parking lot. Everything is closed. The airport is stalking. You heard that plane activity? Because this third party is going to prison. I did take a picture of that. This is relevant to what is impunity. This other third party is aiding in what is that pattern of conduct. They're engaged in that same conduct, but I want to be clear, this is the entity, while they're engaging what is personal means of targeting, and you're documenting, they're making decisions about their own lives. Because the federal government is making a clear stance on terrorism. And so you are deciding to have your family shipped out of this country as immigrants that are not welcome upon terrorism. You are deciding to go to federal prison regarding conspiring the murder of an American citizen that you thought that it was cute and cool to get cool points around a bunch of other demons that are being federally prosecuted because you sat there in defiance while you're being documented. And the gang stalking police are going to prison. The gang stalking pilots are going to prison. The gang stalking mayor is going to be federally prosecuted facing prison. The gang stalkers that are at the grocery and whatever it is, because this is what you're dealing with. They're imbeciles. And these imbeciles are dangerous not because they're actual thugs. They're not actually about that life. They're not actually brave. They're cowards. They're hiding in the dark, and they're doing so while they are concerned about how they look. You look like a vagina monitor. You look like a psycho. You look like a stalker. But this is the entity that's going to prison, and this is how you break that. Okay, you break that defiance because they have been trained by the lawlessness of the state of California. You're going to break that by putting them in prison. It's necessary to protect the public. Okay, this is an entity that's engaging in what is stalking in the middle of the night. Weirdos lining my path, coming outside to sit outside in their. You are not free to stalk somebody where you live, and you'll find out when you're in prison. Okay, you have to learn the hard way. That's what's going on with the terrorists who are in the state of California. Okay, and this is relevant to what is protecting the public, including the minor children that such psychopaths have custody over. And you think that you're keeping your kids? You're not. You're delusional. You are delusional. This is going to affect every area of your life. If you're collecting welfare, you will not be when I'm done with you. You're not getting help paying rent. You're not getting any job, getting past a background check. You're not being participating in any government program. Nobody is funding you. You're going to be on your own out here, gang stalking, and you figure it out. You're going to figure it out on your own. No terrorist will ever get any more support. And that's exactly what you're going to be prosecuted. That's exactly how you'll be identified on paper. And this is the entity that's engaging in this pattern of conduct, and it's an unlawful threat to American citizens who are psychologically tortured by a population, a parking lot full, a city full of psychopaths who call themselves making a point while they're stalking somebody. And you're stalking in silence. You don't have to say a word, and the feds know exactly what it is that you're doing. They know where you're going when you leave here. While you're stalking me, you are being watched before and after you encounter me. You're going to prison as you violate those policies. This is the entity that's engaged in that. All of the features of that pattern of conduct are already documented. This is including what is stalking by helicopter, stalking by criminal summoning. The entity is engaged in what is stalking, maintaining air traffic regarding the airport. This is the entity that's engaged in that together as one. Okay, coming out of what is 628D, or rather, that's not even necessarily, there are a bunch of stalkers and psychos, so you're talking about coming through the back of the store to going through and exit through the front, all manner of chicanery these demons that are being documented engage in, just like they do with what is impossible light that manifests out of nowhere, and they act like it's not happening. This is the entity that's engaging in that sort of conduct, but the smoke shop closes very early. It's 11 o'clock. She's been closed for hours. This fat woman has never been, I've never seen her before, and I used to be a customer at the smoke shop, and she's coming out of the 628D smoke shop. Oh, the tattoo shop. Okay. She's coming out of the tattoo. Thank you for clarifying, Satan. Turning the lights on of King's Inc., who's a third party, and this third party is coming out of that. No lights were on in there. They're turning the lights on, which is also light activity, but they're listening to me in order to, and that's fine. I see it coming out of the tattoo shop. It's this is the third party. They were molesting last night while they were monitoring as I was using their Wi-Fi. And that's not, by the way, any means to providing any basis for you monitoring on the internet. But they are nonetheless engaging in what is monitoring, and she's monitoring now with their customers. Kings Inc., I'm going to tell you right now, you can't afford these problems. They're monitoring with their customers, engaging in state surveillance. Okay, their little Instagram customers that are making appointments are engaging in criminal surveillance and furtherance of murder. Kings Inc. does not want that heat, but they're already engaging in it. They are. They're on the internet. All of their names are on Instagram, where their gang stalking customers are targeting me while they're going in and out, and doing so while the government's stalking as a department, as an airport. You do not want those problems, but it's too late. Kings Inc. is in relevant position. That's what we're gaining from these facts right here. While the entities engaging in what is stalking and monitoring my vagina, Kings Inc. is gang stalking in relevant position. License 9HLY780. They're in front of Kings Inc. at 628 Suite D at Holt Boulevard in Ontario, California. But I just want to be clear, federal prison for a serial stalker, ongoing conduct. This is license plate again. And this is always the analysis. They're treated uniformly under the law. License 9VBZ889, P.O.C. Okay, this is the entity that's engaging in that, and the entity is sounding plane activity. This is what the entity is doing. You like to stalk with plane activity while I'm documenting the gang stalker that is stalking me throughout Ontario, not just at her home. This psychopath that's making threats to call the gang members who don't need to be called. They're sitting there listening while that overweight minion is essentially living in her car to gang stalk me in relevant position as I walk by at 218 C Street. All right, where she's gang stalking with the airport that engages in plane activity that's putting this overweight minion in prison. The entity's doing this at 226 North Vine Avenue, where they're making threats to engage in violence while I'm on the sidewalk outside of their house. Can't even see this chubby minion that is engaging in what is coming outside to be in my presence while I'm taking a picture of the sky. Why are you even concerned about that? While you're admittedly targeting me, while you answer a question like that, you're admittedly targeting. Why are you so focused on me? You're also focused on my vagina. When she needs to be focused on a treadmill, because everybody saw her gut hanging over her waistline while she's outside making nonsensical comments and statements regarding what is a concession. of stalking. Stalking where you live. Stalking somebody that you know exactly who I am, which is also why the fake son is over me at her house, where you have no protection. And when you're coming and engaging in an assault, and who is threatening? The airport flying over 226 North Vine Avenue. You're going to prison. It's as simple as that. This is literally the body of evidence that I have. While I'm at the grocery store, you're flying over my head by plane and helicopter. Guess who's going to prison? How many times did I document that at Walmart? And I said, that's exactly what's happening. Everybody in this Walmart's going to prison. Because that's exactly, and I have a pattern of conduct by Walmart. The entities, it's not going to be, oh, it's too many people, and so you're going to evade justice. I'm going to let you know, right, that is not what's happening at all. You're going to be shocked. You're going to be shocked with the way that justice is going to unfold. What justice requires based on what the government has done. Everybody in the Walmart, it's on video. You're stalking me by helicopter. You can thank the Burbank Police Department. You can thank the Ontario Police Department. You can thank the Upland Police Department. You can thank the San Bernardino County Police Department stalking me by helicopter at Walmart, because everybody in that building is going to prison. They're on the job at Walmart. That's a pattern of conduct. The rules aren't going to change. The rules are not going to change because I'm at Walmart versus these welfare recipients at 226 North Vine Avenue. Everybody in that shack is going to prison as well. This is the entity that engages in terrorism and making terrorist threats because their gang violence is supposed to override your rights as an American citizen. Those gang members that are facilitating that and that are poisoning American citizens and are the cause of murders and rapes and ongoing kidnappings, the ones that are sounding sirens right now, that's why they're being disbanded. That's why they're going to prison. That's exactly why. This criminal system is something that is clearly the responsibility, it is the fault of the U.S. government because they are thugs. They're criminals, and they've made a system of it in the United States. So you have organized vagina monitoring in the parking lot, and the government aids in and adds in on that threat. That person is going to prison. That license plate, and this is going on the record because they are going to federal prison. All right, this is the P.O.C. And there is the entity that's engaging in what are the elements of monitoring. And the elements are speaking to what is an inevitable federal prosecution for as a terrorist. And the entities engage in this as an entity. You engage in what is threatening. You think you want to threaten the federal government because that's what's happening when an American citizen is being targeted and they're documenting it. You are challenging the federal government. The federal government will lock you up and not think twice about it. You are disposable. You're not valued in this country as an American that's engaging in terrorism. You're not an American. Terrorists are not to be negotiated with. You're not valued here. You're certainly not above the law. And it will be applauded when you're locked away, like the animal that you are, like the used tampon that you are. You need to be locked up. You're filthy. Nobody wants to touch you. Okay? This is the entity that's engaging in that sort of conduct. And this is how this system operates. And I find it, as I'm subject to it, I find it to be, absurd, patently absurd. They're a bunch of cowards. They're a bunch of cowards. And the entity, if I were not conducting an investigation, it still does not solve the problem if I go around stomping mud pies into all these punks' faces, because that's what they are, they're punks. But it doesn't do anything to stomp a mud pie into the face of this chubby minion that wants to be me, that wants attention. That's why she's running up to me. Okay, but then I would be wrong if I just one-toot her in her mouth. But it's bigger than that. That's not solving the problem. You'll never even get to the solution. You'll be focused on her face, okay, when I'm stomping on it. That's what you'll be focused on, and you're going to miss the point. Because there's a bigger issue. It's not about the fact that she deserves that. And I don't advocate violence, but it's not about the fact that she would deserve that, or anyone would deserve that when they are targeting in the name of the government. The government is a coward, targeting American citizens through a population. You deserve to be taken around the corner and be stomped out. You deserve that. This is what they do to innocent people, by the way. They absolutely deserve that. But there is a higher calling. There's a higher purpose. You need to know, everyone needs to know about it. So it can never occur in any corner of this country and it be maintained as a secret. Everybody knows what's going on. It's also going to be known. Man, if you do you hear what they're doing in California, man, if you do X, Y, and Z, man, you're going straight to prison. That's what's going to be word on the street. That's what's going to be the ongoing speech about what's going on regarding gang stalking, which is terrorism in the U.S. Okay? The word on the street will be that the rumor mill will include that the United States is not going to compromise with terrorists. Terrorists that want to call themselves officials, be in office, be elected to office, be paid money. No, I don't think so. You'll be humiliated. You will be snatched out of the position and be made an example, a public example of. That's what's going to happen. There are people that are too scared and timid to do it. I'm not. I will call you out, Satan. I will call you out through your whole government name. I will identify your children if I know their name. I do not care. This is an entity that's engaging in that level of violence against people, and they're cowards hiding behind positions, and I'm going to snatch those positions. Then what are you going to hide behind? When I take those positions, you're hiding behind the acronyms behind your name. I'll take those positions and those names, those letters behind you. I have letters behind my name too. What's that supposed to mean? Who do you think you are? I don't care about any of that. None of that matters. You're stripping it down. And terrorists are being plucked out. And they're engaging in what is a pattern of conduct regarding what is not going to be acceptable. And there is a clear line regarding what is X plus Y plus Z equals this result. You're going to prison. You commit these sorts of offenses, you're going to prison. You do X, Y, and Z, you are going to be federally prosecuted. You do X, Y, and Z plus 1, 2, and 3, or 4, you're going to prison. And it's going to be uniform treatment for the demon calling himself a mayor, for the demon calling himself a chief. All right? You're no chief. Where the facts are establishing the pattern of conduct, oh no, you're not police. And you're going to be treated like that under the law. They're not ready for that. But there's a whole series of rights and due process that do not exist for terrorists. Terrorists do not have constitutional rights other than your right to be heard in court. Oh, but you don't have all these protections, all this bureaucratic tape that is protecting you. All that's gone. There is no police corporation, no police advocacy that's going to be heard or be relevant with regard to gang stalking police officers. They don't have any standing. They don't have any legitimacy. Theirs is for those that are engaged in law enforcement. You try your argument with those that are not being federally prosecuted for terrorism. This is an entity that's engaging in a very specific pattern of conduct. It is unmistakable. And those that are engaging in that level of a threat, like I'm documenting with the government, because this is how they engage in the P.O.C. Oh, you like to sound plain activity? You make sure you note these details and you document it because they're going to prison. And we'll see how gangster you are behind bars. You need other people to quote unquote back you up, people that are cowards as well. I'll come for everybody, including who you think is backing you up, because they're going to prison as well. Then what? Then what? Whatever it is that you think that you have, because no real person, no authentic person, no brave person, no courageous person is gang stalking. That's why I'm pulling your card. This is an entity that's engaging in what is the cowards, the flunkies, the losers, the wicked, the lost, the jealous, the inferior, piling up on people who are capable, who are called, who are gifted, who are exceptional in whatever way. Even if it is something as admirable as being your true self, whoever you are, you're brave enough to do that. God bless you. And the wicked are envious of that. They will target you for that unless. This is an entity that is full of pathetic losers, and because of their jealousy, they're going to sit in prisons. No joke. Like, they're literally sacrificing. This is an entity full of the dead. They're already dead. They don't have a purpose. Their purpose is to be made an example of so that everybody knows what Satan is doing. That's why I'm using them. That's why my foot is on their neck collectively. Because that's their purpose, is to be made an example out of. And you're going to be made an example of. You will be going to federal prison. I did tell you because it is going to happen. I will not be repenting and taking back what I said. You're going to prison. And that is going to be for what is uniform policy. All right, this is P.O.C. It is currently 11:49 p.m. The entity engaging in this pattern of conduct while they're monitoring evidence the entire time, so that's always coloring the crime. Not only are you engaging in it, you're engaging in that while you call yourself challenging. And what the goal is when you're documenting, you're making a decision about your life. You want to go home or you want to go to prison? You want to go home, you want to go to prison. Because either way, you're getting a case. It rapidly escalates from a case of terrorism to a case for prison time. It's a matter of how much time you're getting in prison. It rapidly escalates. All right, this is P.O.C. It is currently, everybody in this parking lot is gang stalking, including license Edward Larry George 2 Edward 37, that's a paper plate, on a Honda Civic, while the entity is sounding train activity. All right, Union Pacific as a means of what is the public nuisance. The public nuisance is serving the purpose of gang stalking, and Union Pacific is going to be prosecuted for terrorism on what is the interstate means of interstate commerce, the train tracks. Yeah, the train tracks, and the entities engaging in this while they're engaging in what is a pattern in concert with the people of the state. And the train in the city of Ontario is not going to compete with my ability to hear myself and be on the phone. That's amplification. That's demonic, and it's relevant to targeting the demons that are triggered by the truth that I speak regarding the consequences that are inevitable that they are going to suffer. That's the entity that's engaged in that. And don't forget the demon that's sitting in their vehicle who's going to prison, because that's the same knowledge that they have regarding gang stalking, and you're confronting the federal government, and the federal government is going to respond. You're going to prison. That's as clear as you hear that audible activity, he's going to federal prison. Okay? And it's the same thing with the train activity, targeting me. You're going to federal prison. Everything that the entity is doing is always reverting back to itself. It is impossible to engage in what is harming somebody who is here to prosecute you. All you're doing is giving me evidence. But you are a fool, a demon-possessed one, inherently inferior, in other words, designed to lose, called to lose, relegated to losing. And it's pathetic, by the way. The entities engaging, you can't even lose as a, you can't even lose with good sportsmanship. It's pathetic. So the entity is engaging in more and more wacky, comic, more and more cartoon-like environment where you cannot hear Union Pacific. And even this is relevant and something that could be brought into the court. All of the ridiculousness of the pattern of conduct is that which is fully capable of being replicated in a courtroom. When I'm aboard Metrolink, my ears are not bleeding. You're not going to hear the Metrolink train all throughout everywhere in the city of Ontario because there's the existence of train tracks. This is the entity and all this false logic, this ignorant nonsense regarding gang members who don't have any brain power. They literally are just in, there's millions of us, and so we're going to take on. No, you're not taking over the world. They're a bunch of idiots, and they're going to be overwhelmed with the law. They're going to be burdened with the law. Okay? This is a crackdown on terrorism in the U.S. All right? It is currently 11:52 p.m. That's Union Pacific engaging in terrorism. Louder and louder audible activity, that's a threat because it's serving monitoring. Remember that. Criminal monitoring is that which is committed by the government, and it's occurring in the environment. So you are absolutely very sensitive to everything that's happening, everything that you hear, because this is the same environment where the ordinary target individual is being traumatized, is being communicated to regarding what are threats that are communicated expressly and impliedly, threats that are communicated without any words spoken, in other words. While they're doing so, while I'm documenting this, what you just heard right now, there's a whole legal analysis behind that. All right, and that's the end. It's relevant to everyone, not just these fools that are in this parking lot. This is, and this is like I said, around and around we go. I'm prosecuting a lot of idiots. They are the inferior. They are the hellbound, demon-possessed, who are engaging in criminal conduct that is no longer a secret to anyone, and it's also not a secret that they're entirely ignorant. That this is just what this is, and unfortunately, the ignorant have been murdering people, slaughtering them for a very long time, and that's also why they are gang members that are going to be treated like the terrorists, like the un-American violators of this country, of American citizens and their rights. That they are. That's what they are. So this is the P.O.C. It is currently 11:53 p.m. This is the entity that's maintaining that pattern of conduct, and I wanted to start this because those license plates that I read, Stater Brothers are filled with a bunch of stalkers. They have their employees dispersed throughout the store, stalking me from aisle to aisle. Psychopaths engage in that conduct. You're looking at the merchandise while you're actually stalking another person who you're sitting there waiting, and then they center that sort of psychotic mindset, predatory conduct around my vagina in a bathroom. Oh, she's coming. Let me make sure I hold my position in the adjacent bathroom. Oh, her legs are spread open now. Now we're going to include the amplified audible activity, which you're listening to, which is an abnormal, supernatural level of volume. This is what they're doing when they're all excited, pacing all around, monitoring my vagina together as a group sex act. The perpetual sex offense is no ordinary sex offense. It's sexual violence that precedes murder that's committed as a public entity. Moreover, it's sexual violence that's engaged in, that's practiced as a group. This is a group sex act committed without the consent and knowledge, typically, of the American citizen. Oh, but they're doing it while I'm documenting it. These are violent sex offenders. Violent sex offenders. Okay? It's group sexual violence. Sexual violence as an entity. I just want to let you know right now, you're not keeping custody of your kids. You're not keeping custody of any children. All right? When you're engaging in group sexual violence, this is as violent as it gets with regard to, it's even more egregious than, what you can think of, like a group rape of a woman, okay, a woman that, men are subject to that too, being violated by a group of men, being sexually violated. This is what the entity is doing while they're monitoring your genitalia in the restroom. You're monitoring, you're engaging in what is a violation of privacy. They're doing it, not just one person with the mechanism with the camera on you. The entity's doing it, all of the entity. The state of California is monitoring my vagina. The entity's doing that and proving it while you're stalking by helicopters, while you're stalking under a fake sun, while you're stalking with all manner of commercial airline planes, while you're stalking by a means of public transportation, while you're stalking with every business establishment, while you're stalking as a means of the train in the city. That is group sexual violence, exceedingly violent, exceedingly perverted. Numerosity itself. It's disgusting what the entity is doing. And they include children in that. They include children in it. They train them, not only by sexually violating their children, but they train them by including them in violating others. They're demons. Okay? So this is the P.O.C. So I wanted to get in that. What you hear in the background, pay attention to everything that you hear in the background, because this is a demonic environment. And so this is the dead that are ironically maintaining a very live environment. The environment is reactive to everything that I'm stating because I am indeed being monitored. Okay? This is the pattern of conduct, and it's going to be used against the entity that is gang stalking, like this third-party license that I read. They're going to federal prison as I'm analyzing, and you're stalking me with the government that's committed kidnappings with that airport. That's engaging in what is seeking to psychologically torture so you can defame my character, pursuant to what is claiming that I'm mentally ill when I am documenting an airport that is stalking me. That's why you're engaging in that. That's a threat, and it's a psychologically harmful threat, and it's also a threat pursuant to the pattern of conduct of stalking and harassing me with the gang members who are the people of the state and the Ontario Police Department. There's a whole history regarding all of the threat that's relevant to stalking as commercial airlines with this third party that's being documented, which the Ontario International Airport likes to engage in. You're going to prison, okay? You are not going to contend with any federal government that is enforcing its rights to prosecute you, to investigate you. And you are a whole fool engaging in criminal activity while the federal government is looking dead at you. People are going to be laughing at you when you're in prison, okay? This is P.O.C. You're not going to be treated like some gangster behind bars in prison either. You're not going in as a gangster. You're not going to be treated as a gangster. I'm going to let you know that right now as well. It is currently 11:58.
License plate 8 Wendy Bob Robert 292. License plate 7 Paul 44483. License plate 8 Apple Queen Edward 553. License plate 7 Edward Jerry Paul 741. License plate 8 Bob Victor Sam 292. Stalking in the dark on this street, and they're stalking with the rest of the people. 72176 Frank 3. And that's the government that's stalking on a dark street, maintaining a method of light activity. License plate, and they're doing so what is, let me see, D Street, and I believe this is, look at the 8 Robert Xavier Jerry 472. This is D Street, excuse me, C Street, C as in Charlie, C Street, and this is Palm. Yeah, C Street and Palm. Stalking on the, at the side of the road. This is what the third party does at her home, 218.
C Street. Doing so anywhere. This is the same pattern of conduct, by the way. All you're doing is looking at the elements. You're not looking at anything different when they go to the ARCO gas station. And they're stalking conspicuously. Lights on or lights off. The light activity is accomplished by the traffic all around. The entity is maintaining light activity on the venue of the ARCO gas station. Filling up their gas tank is a means of stalking the targeted individual. I'm doing something. I have a reason to be here, or I have no reason and I don't need one because I'm gang stalking where I live, and I don't know that the feds will come pick me up where I live, gang stalking in that same exact specific environment. It's based on the elements of monitoring, the government that is monitoring via the people. And they're doing it where they live, where they work, where they travel, where they're consuming. All right, so it's not different when you're at the traffic light. It's not different when you go to the grocery store. They're engaging in surveillance. They go into the grocery store to follow an American citizen around. And they do so hiding behind a shopping cart. And what do you see? The same exact engineer light inside of that grocery store, all over the walls, on the ceiling, on the floor, in the bathroom, the fake suns over the venue, there for the duration of the day. The entity is stalking by planes and helicopters, the government targeting you at that grocery store, in the bathroom of that grocery store, where the people of the state that are not even in the same situation as you, they're not homeless, but they're going to the grocery store to use the public bathroom, to stalk you in there. I never use the public restroom coming from my home to go to the grocery store. Okay? I am perfectly normal and can in every regard empathize with what are stalkers. I've analyzed them from every angle. Okay? They are entirely engaged in targeting and abnormal conduct with regard to stalking me. And they're forced to do it while I'm in this circumstance, which they created, but it is also serving for what is showing how they have to go out of their way to target somebody who's a transient. So you're going into the public restroom when you just came from home. So you came out. It's not a matter of whether it's lawful, because it's not lawful when you're getting to the elements. It's not a matter of whether it is, whether you're capable to use it. The issue is with regard to, first of all, the elements of monitoring. That's the underlying case. But how many people are actually leaving their home, their comfort, to go buy some groceries and use the bathroom in public? There may be an exception. There may be people that do that. It's not a matter of whether they do or not. It's just, it's not the average, typical circumstance, and you're doing so under the circumstances of the P.O.C. So whether you're claiming I've got a baby and I have to because every 32 minutes, and even so, even if I had a circumstance like that, people that have those situations, their whole life is centered around coping with that, and so you've already got a system underway, a system that is existing with regard to dealing with that. If you have emergencies pertaining to, I don't know, some condition of a minor child, in which case you need to use the restroom, and even that, where you would still be able to use the restroom. I'm not stating that you don't. It's just the entity stands out like a sore thumb, targeting me while I'm a transient, and they're all there. And they also like to defame on the basis of being impoverished when it's the product of them stealing from me. I'm more educated and more successful than even the demons that are stalking me. Okay, but they're engaging what is relying on the surface. You've been targeting me, and with regard to targeting me in the workplace as well. And oh, now I'm a homeless bum. Oh, but you're obsessed with my vagina and you're stalking me, and you're relying on the illusion of me being some bum. I am no such thing. That's why I'm prosecuting you without $1 in my pocket, because I don't need any money to humiliate Satan, who's obsessed with my vagina. I don't need it. And not only that, the money that you have, you stole it from me. How about that? And the money that you're making while you're targeting me, you're not even holding on to that. How about that? You're making money off of stalking me. That's how much of an obsession I am to you. While everything that you're stating, you're betraying yourself. I am the focal point. I am the one whose your fake sun rises and sets on. You wake up thinking about me. You worship me. That's because you're a demon. But that's the reality of the entity that's engaging in that. They go into the public restrooms while you are coming from home to gang stalk, and that's because the entity is stalking at all places and at all times. And you know that because the engineer light is in the bathroom. Yeah, 9KNT773. So the entity is engaging in that pattern of conduct, and they're doing so while stalking in the middle of the night. The entity is engaging in what is that pattern of conduct regarding any and everything, going through the drive-thru. getting your coffee, getting a burger, getting some chicken nuggets. It's stalking in the path. It's a means of surveillance. While the entity likes to appear like they're doing something else and you're looking at the elements of monitoring, it's a means of, ooh, how can I stalk? And again, the entity that's ignorant, how can I stalk without looking like I'm stalking? And the reality is that you look like you're stalking. Everybody is stalking in that environment, and everyone knows that now. You're dealing with the illusions that Satan presents. The demon-possessed, who are all liars, they're all actors. They don't even like themselves. They act like they do. They act like this and they act like that. They act like they're humans. They're demon-possessed. It's the Nephilim. All right, so you're in the drive-thru. You're at the gas station. You're in the grocery store. You are on the freeway. You are staying at a hotel. You're at work. You are going to the bank. You are studying. You're in class. You're in school. You are at any level, by the way. You are at the library. I've shown you iteration after iteration. You're staying at a hotel. You're on vacation. You're at Disneyland. It does not matter where you're at. The entity's engaging in surveillance at all places and at all times. And they're doing so while, again, the entity is relying on the appearance of the activity. That's the surface. You are looking at the elements of monitoring, where you are engaging in gang stalking as a population on behalf of the government that doesn't have a warrant to commit what is sexual assault and battery, like this demon is stalking at the Vos Church. Doesn't have any church services at 12 o'clock in the morning, okay? This is the P.O.C. The entity is engaging in that with knowledge of who I am, okay? Knows exactly who I am, and is engaging in that conduct with regard to hostile demons. Hostile demons that are stalkers, okay? These are murderers that are out late at night stalking me. This is a male. And this is the demon that's engaging in that pattern of conduct outside of the Vos Church, engaging in what is no license plate, removed it. I can see the screws. They removed the front license plate, anticipating being documented. They're engaging in what is molesting with light, and their headlights are, again, it's not headlights that are causing the light activity that I'm showing you. And he's got, again, removal of the front plates and an Oklahoma plate on the back. This looks like a Middle Eastern man, perhaps a Latino man. This is very much likely possible to not be the legitimate license plate. Yeah? Excuse me? What is that? This is the P.O.C. He's parked illegally on the red curb as well. Just want to get where he's parked at while he's targeting with the state. That's audible activity. That's the state talking, asking you questions while they're stalking you. That's psychotic. The entity that's exhibiting mental illness while they're stalking you, such as asking you questions. When they're monitoring, remember, they're monitoring and you're not supposed to be aware of it. So the entity is engaging what is harassing you while you document. That's the government. And you're going to prosecute the government. You're going to prosecute the government just for that. That's P.O.C. He is stalking in the path. He is engaged in sexual assault and battery as an entity. And the demon that I'm documenting on C Street that's sitting with their lights on is stalking with this demon that's committing a sexual assault and battery in front of Vos Church at 303 North Euclid Avenue. They're lining the path, okay? They're maintaining light activity as I'm traveling about, and they're psychopaths that engage in that harassment, like running up like you're going to hit me, engaging in what is breaking my property, stealing my property, calling me out of my name, engaging in what is touching me in any regard. This is the entity that's hostile while you're documenting them, and they are stalking you in doing so. The entity, Mike LORENZ, is being federally prosecuted for that. And I have a body of evidence showing what is going to be the prosecution of this terrorist leader. And the violence of the Ontario Police Department is also serving to prosecute Mike LORENZ as a terrorist leader. Okay, the entity is responsible for the criminal acts of the entity that's engaging in gang stalking, and the relevance of what is going on is it's called the entity that is focused on the light activity. This is deranged behavior. It's a threat period with regard to their deranged behavior, but this is a stalker that's at the corner for purposes of making sure that they are touching me with light. It is also relevant to what is that which is committed in furtherance of murder, and it's on behalf of the police department. Okay, who are crossing path vehicle 1077. And this is the entity that's engaging in what is stalking with that entity that's asking questions. Are you taking picture? These demons know what they're doing, know what you're doing on your device. That's the reality. This is a demon that knows what's going on my phone and is making audible activity while I am documenting. You know exactly what I'm doing on my phone. This is not, I'm analyzing this for you because this is already established in the evidence. Their knowledge is also proven through what is the through the fake sun documentation, the engineer light. Okay, the entities engaging in what is molestation. They're stalking in the path. They're doing so in that specific environment with the gang member's vehicle 1077 who crosses path with me, pacing by going then on the opposite side of the street with that third party that is monitoring. Parked illegally in the red with regard to aiming light on me, doing so while they are anticipating to commit sexual assault and battery. That's a predator. And they're doing it with the gang members of the Ontario Police. And that is vehicle 1077 who is behind that third party that is engaging in the pattern of conduct. Remember what CEASELESS is doing, it's criminal summoning while they're stalking as a police department. They're being disbanded. All right, the obsession is proven through a police officer that would try to appear as though they're engaging in the execution of the duties of an officer when actually what you're really doing is stalking me. That is evidence of obsession. And that is evidence regarding mental illness, and that's how that's going to be used, because that's relevant to what is malice. The malice of that entity that is cloaked in the authority that they don't have while they're gang stalking. The wealth of evidence of that agency targeting me is establishing that. All right, this P.O.C. Ontario Police stopped behind that third party they're monitoring together. Okay, he's at Vos Church. Vos Church is where the Ontario Police have maintained their so-called police training at 7:15 in the morning under the fake sun. That same Vos Church where the fake sun is present at 6:15 in the evening, where that entity is stalking me by helicopter on video at that same location. This demon that's stalking with light is engaging in what is the purpose of the fake sun over me at this same location. Vos Church is not open now, and he is parked in the red illegally with regard to stalking with light, and the Ontario Police are aiding in and joining in on that pattern of conduct. That is analogous to what is sounding plain activity while I'm documenting the third party who is going to federal prison. That's the same iteration, the entity communicating a threat while you're documenting them. Just want to be clear on that. That's it. I did capture images. This is the pattern of conduct. You're understanding how the entity is engaging in that. And this is relevant too. The reason why I go through all this is because there will be literally a systemized means of prosecution. I mean, it's going to be like a factory. All right? It's going to be streamlined. It's going to be understanding strict liability basis. Those of you that have any, you don't have to, but I'm just giving an example for those that may understand. Like being, for example, I only have to use law as an example. When you're in a factory and you have the products that are on the line, if you will, and they're engaging in what is doing their part while it's on the belt and it's streaming through and you're making those products, it's going to be prosecution like that. It's going to be streamlined. That's why I analyze it. This is what they're doing. They're always doing the same thing with regard to what they know in that environment, and this is what they intend to do, and this is what is reasonably accomplished when they are engaging in this pattern of conduct while they're monitoring the evidence at all times. The entities engaging in threatening, all the ways in which they're always threatening, and the intent, even though it doesn't work against me, I'm prosecuting it, but this is how the ordinary target individual is subject to that, and that is an unlawful threat while they're conspiring your murder. And you're not even a police officer or a police department. You are literally stalking using that police vehicle. You're doing so under the fake sun in the engineer light with a third party who is psychotic stalking me, and you're stalking him together while you appear during the course of my documentation while I'm capturing that threat that that agency poses through that third party, and then they directly engage in that. That is analogous to stalking as a airport while I'm documenting a third party who's engaging in what is serial stalking. That's the same purpose right there. It is the basis of federal prison. I just want to be clear. It is. But this is how you're understanding that. It's going to be streamlined. Streamlined. And it will be well known in the United States. You engage in that. This is, man, you hear what happened in California? If you do that now, you can't do that no more, because if they do, you can be prosecuted for RICO. You can get a civil case. That civil case is relevant to a criminal charge. That criminal charge, you can be prosecuted as a terrorist. That goes on your record, and it affects this, this, and this. You can't do this anymore, and you won't be able to do that anymore. This is how you're going to prosecute. And it's also going to filter into what are policies to affect the population that is engaging in terrorism. And if you're engaging in what are violating the laws, you're going to prison. And that will be streamlined. It's essentially strict liability basis. And you can do that when the pattern of conduct is established in the way that it is. The system is already established. You're looking at them engaging what I said they were doing years before. And I'm capturing on a day-to-day basis. It's the same pattern of conduct. They're doing the same thing over and over and over again. It's a pattern of conduct. And why is it that they're doing that? And there's no new way, they can't change it or switch it up? Because it's demonic. It's impulsive to what they are. They're monitoring spirits. They're demons. This is how demons monitor. So I have given what is the formula. And that's what they're doing. And that's all that they can do, because that's how demonic spirits are engaging in what is monitoring you in the spirit. And it is evident through the environment and the monitoring spirits that are using people that are trying to adjust their behavior and make it appear as it is normal, as it's expected to appear, when it's not normal at all. It's entirely demonic, and it's criminal. It's criminal. All right, the entity stalking in the parking lot of ARCO, and that's exactly what Ontario Police were doing, vehicle 1077 stalking. Conspicuous stalking is completed while engaging in what is criminal summoning with the people. You are stalking while you want to appear to be focused on the people of the state. A traffic stop. Oh, we're just investigating. We're looking for somebody. We got a call about somebody stabbing someone, and so we're pulling out the helicopter and we're flying around. We're looking for the suspect. They're stalking. They're engaged in surveillance. It's under a fake sun. They're not looking for anybody. They know where everybody is at. They know what happened. All right, they're engaging in what is keeping themselves employed, maintaining the narrative, the superficial appearance of what is stalking. The Ontario Police are engaging in that pattern of conduct with the people of the state, and they're all very poor actors. All right, surveillance underway at CHEVRON. 9 PCP 125. Sexual assault and battery. Starbucks, the entity is gang stalking, parked in relevant position. The entity is engaging in surveillance. And this is Allied Universal. I documented them gang stalking at the Ontario Town Square last night, doing so by merely, again, abusing access that they have. This isn't a security guard. Your life is at threat when the demons of Allied Universal are around. They're terrorists, not security guards. Okay? They're engaging in the pattern of conduct, and they're demons in doing so. And they're using their access throughout the city of Ontario, 12 o'clock in the morning, just going into the facility of the City of Ontario, the Ontario Town Square, to engage in pacing. The entity sounds train activity. You know the light activity that's present. So they're pacing in and out. Oh, I'm going to go. In other words, you can do that by getting out of the vehicle. That's light activity, right? Activity creation right there. You're in relevant position to me while you do it. You use your key to access the Ontario Town Square little office at the amphitheater. You walk in and you walk out. You're pacing. And the entity sounding plane activity while you go in there, monitoring on your device, your communication device on you. And then you're walking out and you're monitoring me. You know everything that I'm doing as a demon-possessed person, as a state actor. And they're not monitoring by themselves. They're monitoring with a whole bunch of demons that are surrounding me, including in the sky space. Allied Universal is engaged in that. I documented them gang stalking me again, and that was yesterday, early in the morning. All right, Allied Universal is engaging in that pattern of conduct, and so is Steve, the company owner, and Steve has a lawsuit on his hands. Steve has a criminal case, all right, that company is going to be held accountable for, and Steve's demon-possessed employees are the reason that any terrorist leader who are these company owners who are profiting from it, you're being prosecuted. It's criminal activity. You are going to be held liable for that which you are profiting from. You're going to be held liable with that which you are engaging in, because you are not engaging in this level of a pattern of conduct. Like I've shown the companies such as Allied Universal targeting me with the state. Like I've shown companies like UPS targeting with the state. You're talking about different cities and counties, the same pattern of conduct, and you're doing so as a company. That's speaking to a system. That's speaking to a company policy of targeting. You will be prosecuted. You're a terrorist leader. The evidence and the ways in which the entity is engaging in an impossible pattern is speaking to criminal activity that you are going to be responsible for under the law. That which you thought was never possible, that which you thought that no one would ever be able to prove, it is possible and it's provable. It's already done. Because I'm dealing with a whole bunch of demons that are listening, and you're delusional about what is happening to you. You are being exposed and prosecuted. It is happening. All right, this is relevant to companies that are targeting me. Amazon Prime, in whatever city and county that I'm in. They always seem to know where I'm at, and that knowledge is proven. While they're in my presence and the fake sun is over me, while they're molesting me with impossible light activity, while the government is stalking me in a helicopter and Amazon's over there stalking with light conspicuously while having a package in their hand, which is the federal RICO case, you're engaging in terrorism. That's a means of a company engaging in terrorism. That's a criminal act. I will prosecute you. I will prosecute you. All right. It is currently 12:26 a.m. It is February 17th now, 2026. This is going to remain for the podcast of February 16th. However, because of the ongoing logical continuation of what it is that I'm speaking about, the entities engaging in what is stalking. This is so pathetic. Remember what they're doing at the Stater Brothers. So I'm just taking a picture. And the entity is, that's Allied Universal. They turn their brake lights on. That is indeed Allied Universal. All right, I'm going to remind you about their license plate. It is published yesterday, Allied Universal, and Steve. Steve is catching charges, and I want to be clear, Allied Universal, Steve is not a victim. Steve is someone that's profiting from terrorism in the United States, and that's why he has a demon-possessed, employees working for him, accumulating criminal charges for that company. And the entities engaging in what is documented acts of concerted targeting together. Allied Universal is targeting together. The entity is stalking, doing a cartwheel over the parking lot of ARCO. And then Allied Universal, who was stalking me in the parking lot and has been stalking just like they were yesterday, where the entity was stalking with planes. Now they're flying not over this square, they're flying over here on the north side of the downtown Ontario luxury apartment, the north side of the Ontario Town Square, targeting relevant to my position. It's called relevant positioning. And that's where Allied Universal was stalking at 12 something in the morning. All right, with the Ontario International Airport, with Union Pacific. And as I call that out, I just want to be clear. I believe his name is Steve. Steve, just like Bezos. Steve, just like the U.S. Postmaster. Steve, just like any other company owner. They're witnessing the exposure for the criminal surveillance that they are committing as a company owner in this country. You're terrorist leaders. You are profiting from the ongoing facilitation of the U.S. government to keep American citizens under surveillance, and you are not ignorantly or coincidentally making millions of dollars on that. This is something that you've invested in, and you're doing it outside of the United States as well. But that's not my concern. I'm in the U.S. And the American citizen, well, I take that back. It is my concern, but it is within my ability to affect what is going on in the country where I am a citizen. And this is informing the rest of the world about you, who are a threat to any country, making money on the backs of American citizens that you're violating, just like Allied Universal is. Engaging in what is this pettiness, stalking with a plane. Oh, I'm going to get you back for what you did. That's literally what is behind their psychotic conduct. They are, again, this is not effective witchcraft. These are demons. These are demon-possessed people. These are monitoring spirits. So they engage in their little ritual episode, stalking with the amplified noise of the plane, crossing path in the engineer light. The demon puts his foot on the brake of the Allied Universal vehicle as the entity is flying over, hovering in a plane. This is the elements of light activity, relevant positioning, and audible activity. They are monitoring. And it is an act of demons that behave like a rabies-infected dog that doesn't use words. It just growls and foams at the mouth. These are demons that are showing hostility. And in other words, the entity is gang stalking as a matter of evidence, pursuant to a pattern of conduct, establishing that by every commercial airline company and Allied Universal, who is engaging in a pattern of conduct. Every company is engaging in that pattern of conduct, and they're doing so with regard to who else Allied Universal is targeting with. The entire state of California. All right, and Allied Universal represents what is the ongoing reprehensible threat that the entity represents. The companies that are gang stalking are reprehensible with regard to the conduct that they're engaging in, the money that they're making while they're engaging in that. And this is something that you are supporting, perhaps unwittingly, but those that are viewing this, they're not ignorant about it. You're not ignorant about it. You're sitting up watching it like it's a TV show. And I'm going to leave that between you and your maker. But as a matter of ethics, as a matter of morality, and as a matter of what is satanic, this is serving Satan. This is of the devil himself, and it is nothing that is that should be entertainment for anybody. But it is relevant to. I can see how it would be enticing to see how justice is being served, how people are being exposed, how the government is being treated as like anyone else that's a part of the country. No one is above the law, okay? But sitting around and consuming the content and watching someone, you are aiding and participating in what is very dark and demonic, and you're also aiding in the harm. If you're not helping and you're just sitting back and eating popcorn and watching, then that is something that is troublesome, and that resides within you and your own soul. But other than engaging what is taking action to aid in what is an American citizen, and if if you don't know how to do that, sitting back and watching someone else suffer and watching it and consuming it as entertainment, that is not the answer. That is not the answer at all. So anyway, the entity is engaging in that pattern of conduct. I'm going to digress on that, but the entity is engaging in that pattern of conduct while at ARCO. So that's the airport that is stalking from place to place. That's the city of Ontario. That's the state. That's the government that is now, as exposed, incriminating the people of the state who I said years ago I'm going to prosecute them. And that's exactly what has happened. All right. And that's exactly what's going to continue to happen. The people of the state are being prosecuted. All right. It's currently 12:32 a.m. This is P.O.C.